Janine, can you elevate Katie Bordenaro?
I did that.
Okay.
Everyone, if you could mute your microphones, please.
Do you want me to do that if I'm co-host to
Yeah.
mute folks?
Yeah. Okay. If you could go back to the first slide, we'll start the meeting. Good evening. Welcome to the October full board meeting for Manhattan Community Board 2. Just want to highlight some pictures. This is Dr. Smith receiving her award at International House earlier this month. And this is the unveiling and the performances for the ribbon cutting for Doris Teeter's bench in Washington Square Park. So wanted to welcome everyone to the meeting. CB2, thank you for letting us know that we have a quorum. So welcome everyone. I'm going to turn, if you could take that screen off, and I'm going to turn it over to Ritu, who will start with attendance. Meanwhile, I'll put a link to the agenda and full board package into the chat. Thank you.
Hi all.
Can you stop sharing the screen? Thank you.
Okay, here we go. Susanna Aaron is absent with notice. Natasha Avanesian, I'm sorry for mangling your name.
No worries, I'm here.
Akila Azkui. Akila? Okay, I'll come back. William Benish.
Here.
Keen Berger.
Here.
Carter Booth.
Here.
Thanks, Carter. Katie Bordenaro.
Here.
Anita Brandt.
Here.
I know that Amy Brenna cannot talk, but I know she's here, marking her present. Rich Cacapolo.
Here.
Ritu Chatri is present. Valerie De La Rosa also can't speak. I'm marking her present. John Paul DeVerna. Chris Dignas.
Here.
Bob Ely.
Yes.
Mar Fitzgerald.
Present.
Stella Fitzgerald.
Here.
Cormac Flynn.
Here.
Susan Gammy.
Here.
David Gruber. David. And I'll come back. Wayne Kowadler. I'll come back. Susan Kent.
Here.
Ryder Kessler.
Here.
Janine Kiley.
Here.
Did I mangle your name again?
No, you did it just fine.
Ivy Kwan Arce is absent with notice. Patricia Laria.
Here.
Michael Levine.
Here.
Janet Liff. I'll come back. Ed Ma.
Here.
Matthew Metzger.
Here.
Daniel Miller.
Here.
Mustafa Osman is absent with notice. Juan Osorio, welcome.
I'm here. Hi, everyone.
Hi. Brian Pape.
I'm here, present.
Donna Raftery. Donna. I'll come back to you. Lois Rockoff.
I am here.
Thanks, Lois. Bo Riccobono.
Here.
Zach Roberts is absent with notice. Robin Rothstein.
Here.
Rocio Sands.
Present.
Shirley Secunda.
Here.
Kristen Shea.
Here.
Federica Siegel is absent with notice. Dr. Shirley Smith,
Present.
Chenault Spence. Think he may be.
He's arriving late.
Okay. Susan Wittenberg is absent with notice. Anthony Wong.
Here.
Cheryl Wu. Cheryl, I think you're going to be in and out. I'll come back to you. Eugene Yu.
Present.
Hi, Eugene.
I reach you.
Last but not least, Adam Zeldin. I'm going to go back to a couple more names, Janine. Akila Asqui. John Paul DeVerna.
Here. Thank you.
David Gruber.
He was absent with notice.
Oh, yeah, okay. Wayne Kowadler. Okay. Janet Liff. Okay. And Cheryl Wu. Okay. We are finished with that.
Okay. Thank you for taking attendance, Ritu. For those of you who are joining us tonight for the first time, the agenda is in the chat as well as a link to the full board meeting. I will put that in the chat for everyone. The full board package, the September full board minutes, the YouTube link if you want to log off and just watch on YouTube, and written comments submitted to Community Board 2, so everyone can view those. At this point, we are going to go to the public session, and I'm going to turn it over to Susan Kent, our first vice chair, to run that. Thank you.
Thank you, Janine. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to public session. We have a total of 12 speakers this evening. And just to remind, there's our timer. Just to remind our speakers, a speaker gets 2 minutes. We encourage you to use the timer to assist you. When I call your name, please raise your hand so we can identify you and elevate you to participant status. And I just remind everyone who is here to please be respectful of our speakers and not interrupt them. After each speaker, there will be an opportunity for board members to ask questions of them. So let me first start off by reading off the names of those people who will not be speaking about skateboarders on Lafayette Street. These are Robert Beckwith, Joseph Reaver, Glenn Drews, and Darlene Lutz. So if any of those people, please raise your hands and we will elevate you. And I see them, and okay, Mr. Beckwith, why don't you, since I see, if you've been, when you're ready, please go ahead. Were they? Let's see. Mr. Beckwith, are you able to speak?
Yes, I am.
Please go ahead whenever you're ready.
Okay, thank you. My name is Robert Beckwith, and I attended the Park Department's meeting on Monday, which discussed the playing of pickleball at Sarah Valley Park in the West Village. As a West Village resident, pickleball player, and parent, I believe I have a balanced view of the situation and wanted to share some thoughts about the meeting. There is a significant disagreement as to whether pickleball should be played at Sarah Valley Park. As a parent, I am quite upset by the misuse of space by people who come and set up nets where they aren't supposed to be placed. It's not fair to our kids that this is happening. On the other hand, as a pickleball player, I believe that with defined rules and proper park police enforcement, that these bad actors will disappear and all anyone will see is a group of pickleball players playing on the 2 designated courts and kids playing everywhere else. However, many parents who spoke were skeptical of this arrangement, as even 2 courts are too many. Even so, I requested the Parks Department test the strategy for a few months to see what happens. I then pointed out that Sarah Valley Park is a vastly underutilized space. During the year of the 250 weekdays, kids are either in school or at camps most of the day. Since I live nearby, I can see kids start to arrive at the park around 3 p.m. and they are gone by 6 p.m. for dinner. So on the average 12 hours of daylight on a typical weekday throughout the year, there is huge demand by parents and kids for 3 hours. But for the other 9 hours, the park is nearly always empty. So this raises an important question. If there's a disagreement as to whether pickleball players and kids can share the park at the same time, and we can't make that work out even with proper park police enforcement, then why not share the same space? Why not give pickleball players the right to use the current courts during off-peak hours? This policy would help the Parks Department meet the huge demand that has resulted from the increased interest in pickleball, and at the same time provide parents with the safety that we are looking for when our kids play in the park. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. I do not see any hands raised, so we will go to our next speaker, Mr. Reaver.
Hi, can you hear me?
Sure, please go ahead.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm Joseph Reaver. I'm the director of Elizabeth Street Garden, and I'm here to just talk about two exciting events. One is our third annual Halloween Pet Parade. This is a really big community event, and it includes a costume runway. It's in lieu of our Harvest Festival, which we hope to bring back at some point as a bit of a hybrid, but for now we're just doing the Pet Parade. COVID really still has a strain on some of the restaurants. So for the Halloween Pet Parade, it's our third annual Halloween Pet Parade. It will be on Sunday, October 30th, starting at 2 p.m. And I'll post all of this in the chat. It's a costume runway with prizes. There's going to be a local restaurant, local business raffle for those that can participate, and some other activities as well. We're asking that all participants who want to participate in the runway, please submit register by October 28th, but it is free for spectators and there is wheelchair accessibility as well. So I'll post the link to register for that. And then we also have a new series of events. Really, it's a mini movie series in light of Halloween, and that will be starting next week and run Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So it will be weather permitting. It looks like there might be a little rain in the forecast, but we'll be showing Young Frankenstein, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, 1978, and Hocus Pocus. And all of these events will be free and open to the public. So you can just check out the calendar and see if you'd like to come to that as well. We won't be doing an Eventbrite as we did with the different movies for the movie series through this spring and summer. So those are our two big Halloween seasonal events. We hope everyone can make it, and I'll post all of the information in the chat. So feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions at all. I'll include my email.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing no questions, Glenn Drews, whenever you're ready. Is he here? Is he here? I don't know if I see, I don't know that I see him.
He is not here.
He is not here. Okay, Darlene is our next speaker. And she is here.
I am here. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for the time. I am having a little bit of difficulty finding my speech, my quick speech. I'm Darlene Lutz, Vice President of the First Precinct Community Council. Community Board 2 is served by 4 police precincts. The first covers the territory in CB2 to the west side of Broadway to the Hudson River, and the south side of Houston down to the north side of Canal Street. That same territory is Sector D of the First Precinct's community neighborhood coordination efforts. And I'd like to give a shout out and welcome our 2 new officers on that beat, Officers Brittany Milan and Christina Jovino. The council public monthly meeting with the precinct is the last Thursday of every month with exceptions, and there are 2. Our October meeting has been rescheduled to Wednesday, November 2nd, and our November meeting, the final meeting of the year, is November 30th. Our meetings start at 6 p.m. and run for about an hour. Everybody is welcome to attend and participate, and we hope you come. I'll put this info in the chat with my contact info if there are any questions. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you, Darlene. Seeing no questions, I will read off the next 4 names. And of course, please raise your hand when I call your name. Doug Lyman, Renita George, Brian Davis, and Michael Francese. Okay. I see 2 people though with the name Megan Cerullo.
I think there are 4 actually.
Okay. I think people are using the same, they may be all together. So let's elevate all of them so that we can get our speakers.
Please just rename yourself your correct name. Thank you.
Okay. If assuming one of those persons is Doug Lyman, if you are ready to speak, please, you're start at any time.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, hi, thank you very much for your time. I'm here to talk about skateboarding by Lafayette Park. I've been living in Soho living or working in Soho since 1997. And I'm a sports enthusiast and have a one wheel. And so I do appreciate skate parks, skaters. Would like to see New York have more skate parks and more things for young people to do I'm a real believer in that. I don't feel good about the street being used as a skate park. It's not, I don't feel safe for my mom to come down there anymore. She wouldn't walk into, the skate park. She wouldn't just wander around a traditional skate park. And the street basically has become a skate park. So I'm hoping that the board could figure out some way, to find a place for young people to do their sports without, doing what I consider now a major, major threat to the safety of pedestrians, including myself. But I'm particularly sensitive to people who maybe are older and whose reflexes aren't as fast because, it's become a skate park. It's no longer a street. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Seeing no questions. Next speaker, Renita George. Oh, I'm sorry, Shirley raised her hand. Please go ahead.
I really don't have questions. What I do have is some information for the folks who are concerned about the terrible situation on Lafayette Street where skateboarders have taken over. Just to let you know, the Traffic and Transportation Committee, of which I'm chair, has heard about this many times. We have 2 resolutions to the Department of Transportation about the conditions there, which report the conditions, one from April of this year and one from June. And I'd also like to let you know that I don't know if you mentioned that the skateboarders, the intruding skateboarders, are at the area of Lafayette Street, which is right next to Petrosino Square. And there is a major plan in the works by DOT, or they have been supposedly conducting this plan since, let's say the 3rd quarter of this year. That would be, so it's supposedly started in August. A major plan to redesign that whole area of Petrosino Park, which would include having to address the open street there and the skateboarding problem. So just to let you know that this is going on, we incidentally have received from the vice chair of the Traffic and Transportation Committee a little slideshow that your group has put together. And we have already forwarded it to the Department of Transportation to follow up and to find out when we can get a presentation for input from everybody on this reimagining Petrosino Square. So stay tuned, and just want to let you know about that.
Thank you, Shirley. Our next speaker, Renita George. Is she available? If not, I'll come back to her. Let's go to Brian Davis.
Hi, everyone. I am Brian Davis, and Shirley, thank you for that information. I wanted to stop by and express my concerns as well about the skateboarders out on Lafayette Street. I think Doug probably said everything that I would say. Just as a resident of the area, it has become a bit untenable. And I guess I would feel differently if somehow it had been designated a skate park, but it isn't. And anyway, it sounds like some things are in the works to address it. So I appreciate being heard.
Thank you. Our next, Michael Francese.
Excuse me. Hello. I too am a resident, and I appreciate the steps that have been taken forward. Some other concerns that I personally had with the skaters and the people generally in that the community surrounding that is, I mean, not only do we have the issue of the danger from the skateboarding, but of taking the refuse from the street and using it as obstacles, which then get left in the middle of the road, as well as on the sidewalk. You also have an issue of people sitting in the parks, congregating in large groups, drinking open container alcohol, and it just makes me, and I know some other people, feel unsafe when walking by Kenmore Square, and it's uncomforting. And I'm glad to hear that something is being done about it. Yeah, I'm a new resident, but it started around the time when I moved in, and I'm hoping that there's a good resolution for it moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael has his hand up.
Yes, thank you. A quick question. Is the skateboarding occurring on the sidewalk or the roadway, or both? I'm not clear on that.
In my experience, it's primarily on the sidewalk, and people will sometimes use the curb as one of the obstacles that they skate on. On occasion, you do see people kind of going on the curb on closer to the city bike area of that park. So.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the clarification.
Okay, another question. That's Adam in our conference room.
Yep, thanks. Can you just add a little bit more detail to the safety concern? I've heard a lot of like general nuisance concern, which I certainly can empathize with. But can you just like double click on the safety thing? Like, are they regarding you when you're walking by, or they're pushing you? Like, can you just kind of double click like what are that?
Yeah, I mean, it's more just the general culture in New York. It's closer to the evening or dusk. You have maybe 20 people sitting on the park benches watching the skateboarders, drinking from brown bags. And obviously an easy solution is to walk on the other side of the street, but I don't feel as though I should need to do that in a place where I live. I should feel safe. And it's not necessarily a threatening situation, but by nature of a large group of people congregating and drinking, it just is unsettling.
Okay. Dan, please go ahead.
Yes, thanks. I just want a point of clarification. This is an open street. So you have restaurants on the side, and in the middle of the street, the skateboarders are taking advantage of the open space to skateboard, to jump over bollards and other DOT obstacles. So it's really become a playground of an open street. And I think that might help you, Michael.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let me read off the remaining names. Daryl Wickstrom, Steve Cunningham, Chris Franco, and O'Brien Davis was a duplicate. So those 3 people, please raise your hands, and I will ask one more time if Renita George is here. If she is, I see.
There's one more person that wants to speak about skateboarding, and they are named Megan Cerullo. So
Yes,
we'll call on that.
Yes, I see multiple Megan Cerullos. So if you had to have signed, just our rules are you have to have signed up in advance. If one of those people is Renita George, I see a lady, you're welcome to start. Otherwise, we will go to the next person, who is Daniel Wickstrom. And if neither of those people here, Steve Cunningham. And the
I'm
last,
just gonna say Megan Cerullo inserted a comment card, so there's probably confusion, so I would have her speak as well.
oh, okay. So why don't you go ahead, Megan?
Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
So I just want to say it was hard to find can you pause my timer for a second? Because I just have to explain why there's some confusion. It was hard we were told that we only had to register to speak, not to register to attend the meeting. That wasn't made clear. So I shared the link I received with some other folks who want to speak to attend this meeting without realizing it was a personal link. So they're all individuals who have their own testimony to share, but it looks like they're showing up as Megan Cerullo's. So I'd urge you to allow everyone to speak if that's possible. There was a lot of, it wasn't easy for us to obtain this meeting link.
No problem. That's what we're here for, is to hear from this portion of our meeting is to hear from the public.
Okay, I appreciate it. So if you're ready for me, I'd like to use my 2
Yes,
minutes.
please go ahead.
Okay. Open streets are meant to promote economic development and provide ways for New Yorkers to build community. On our block, however, the opposite has happened. It's become a skate park, drawing dozens of skaters from all over the city daily and nightly. This has only been an issue since it was designated an open street and closed to traffic. It's attractive to skateboarders because there's no vehicular traffic. The skaters aren't members of this community. They're not respectful of others who wish to use the open street or enjoy Petrosino Square Park. They are threatening and intimidating. They skate close to pedestrians to try to scare them away from what they consider to be their territory. Let me show you a couple videos of what this looks like. Try to share my screen here. Oh, you know what? It doesn't look like I'm allowed to share my screen. Can we enable that function?
I don't know.
Yes, I can do that briefly, but you will need to keep it in the.
It will eat up your time.
Yes.
Yep, that's fine. I'm prepared. I've timed
Okay.
this. Just would like to have the ability to share my screen.
You should now. You should be
Okay.
able to do so.
I do now. Great. Thank you. Okay, here's a video.
I am not seeing any video.
Did anyone else see that?
No, it did not show. It's just a white screen.
The white screen.
Okay, that's too bad. I was hoping to demonstrate this issue via video because I think it really helps to see what it looks like.
Megan, if I'm going to put my email in the chat, if you want to email it to me, I can email it to board members.
Okay. That would be great. I appreciate it. Anyhow, the noise is audible at street levels and in our apartments. The grinding of their wheels on the curb, plus the jumping and the landings of their boards as a noise violation is indicated by the DOT. Someone came and witnessed the scene. They also destroy city property by graffitiing the benches and sidewalk outside the park, and they smoke and drink and leave behind bottles of booze. They even use the very barricades that are meant to close the street as jumps in the middle of the block. Simply put, they've taken over the block and turned it into a skate park. Please help us restore what was a peaceful park for residents to enjoy. It was never an issue before the city closed the street to traffic. I believe it'll require reopening the street to traffic and designating it as a no skateboard zone and taking other enforcement measures. From what I can see, no action, to resolve the situation has been taken so far.
I must ask you to wrap up. Your time has.
And it's been 2 years. Thanks.
Thank you. I see a hand up. Is Adam? You have your hand up?
Yeah, Megan, you talked about open streets being a tool to develop communities and strengthen communities, and then you said that these skaters are not a member of our community. I'd just like you to clarify, who is a member of our community and why are those skaters not a member of one?
Well, I know that they're not a member of, I mean, for example, they don't live here and they don't work here. And I know this because I see them come in cars and they park. And so that indicates to me that they're coming from other parts of the city. And by member of the community, I mean people who live here, people who work here, people who wish to enjoy it. Certainly anyone can enjoy it, but they are coming here and using it as a destination skate park. And they don't, participate in any other community type activities. So it's because I see them driving in and parking here and then unloading. That's what suggests to me that they're not a member of the community.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Megan. I see our next speaker, Chris Franco.
Yes. Can you see
We
me,
can
hear
hear
me?
you. We can hear you.
Okay. My video, here I am. How's it going, everyone? Thanks for having me. I also am here to complain about skateboarders, which I was telling a friend, when I was 15, if you told me that adult me would be doing this, I'd be very disappointed. I'm not against skaters. I get, their subculture. I try to conversate with the guys that are on our block all the time. To Megan's point, they're not from here, and that's fine. But they litter, they do drugs. I witnessed an overdose several weeks back in the middle of the day. I have dogs that one in particular gets very scared by the skateboards. Some will go out of their way to scare him by skating particularly close to him. They will come on the sidewalks and ollie by that furniture store. I also want to just emphasize it's not just the culture that's coming through with this particular group. I don't know whose idea it was to open up a store on our block called Trippy Smoke, but it's almost as if that store it would not exist there if they didn't think they had a market to sell their drugs to. In addition to just kind of having just not being really classy about the way I don't have a problem with people, if it's legal, but Trippy Smoke right next to, the skateboarder guys and everything else. I think noise wise, just to equate it to something else, if anyone's ever played street hockey, that's what it sounds like constantly. It's like you're hearing sticks hitting the pavement, slap shots, loud noise, and everyone's drunk and high. And this is also, they're contributing to the litter, which has been a real issue on that street with some of the outdoor dining. These individuals, they don't use trash cans. They just use the street. It's gross. It's nasty. It's contributing to what I believe is a kind of a cascading effect where it's only inviting more, just let's call it less than desirable behavior. It shouldn't be happening. I think, we all, we should be doing something about this. And I appreciate the fact that steps have been taken. Let me know how I can be helpful because it needs to stop.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no hands up, I will ask one more time if any of the names that I called, if any of those people are here and have not spoken, Darrell Wickstrom or Steve Cunningham.
Darrell Wickstrom.
Oh, there he is. Okay, whenever you're ready, sir.
Sorry, I've tried to raise my hands a few times, but it hasn't seemed to work. So thank you. I'm glad I figured out the technology. I don't really have a lot to add to what Chris and Megan and others have said so eloquently. I've been a resident for several years now in 210 Lafayette. I love the area. I love the park. And it really has become a very uncomfortable street, that one block there. It's been great since Open Street started. It's nice how the restaurants have used the street. It has a wonderful, almost European feel sometimes. But since the skateboarders have taken over, it's gotten worse and worse. The trash, the behavior, the activity. We had an elderly dog, and walking her across Lafayette Street was always a very frightening experience. People would come close to us. As Chris said, they would be out of control. They'd fly past us. My dog does not move very fast. There were a couple times where it was a close miss. And I said something to the skateboarder, got no reaction, no apology, no nothing. I, like Chris, can't believe I'm sitting here complaining about this. It makes me feel a little curmudgeonly. But it has gotten to the point that something needs to be done. I was happy to hear that they are looking at a plan for Ola Petrosino Park. I would hope, though, that that while that plan is information, that perhaps something can be done to improve the situation in the near term. So thank you for the opportunity to share our thoughts about what's happening on our block, and look forward to hearing what might be able to be done.
Okay, thank you, sir. Seeing no hands, that brings us to the end of the public session. Back to you, Janine.
Thank you, Susan. We're going to now move on to elected official reports. If
Oh, I'm sorry. I see one hand up, another Megan Cerullo. Is this somebody whom I called previously?
I just promoted this person, so I'm assuming it's a different Megan.
Okay.
Do I hit start?
It may, Steve is here with me. So
It's Steve Cunningham. Can you hear me?
Oh, please go ahead. Yes,
All
I
right,
did.
sorry, I don't have my computer with me. So I echo everything that's already been said, but I can add something to the discussion. I actually have been hit by a skateboarder, so I can attest to the dangers of crossing the streets. I luckily am a 6'2", 215-pound guy, but the skateboarder going the wrong way while I was crossing the crosswalk went right into me, fell down, basically looked up at me, and there wasn't much interaction, and then he rode away. So if I had been an older person, a kid, an elderly dog, or whatever, the danger is real. That's all. So I know that firsthand. So thank you.
And thank you. Okay, that is our last speaker. So Janine.
Okay. Thank you. If somebody, if you're with one of the elected officials' offices, if you could raise your hand, and we will promote you to panelist. I know we have a lot of people here. I'm going to start with Biani Rodriguez, who's a new representative to CB2 with Councilmember Rivera's office. So Biani, why don't we turn it over to you? And if somebody could, Daryl, we will demote you. Thank you for joining.
Hello, everyone. My name is Biani Rodriguez. I am the new Community Board 2 liaison for Councilmember Carlina Rivera. As the chair of the Committee on Criminal Justice and City Council, Carlina has been working to conduct proper oversight on the situation at Rikers Island and take action to address the humanitarian crisis at Rikers. Carlina co-sponsors a bill that would ban solitary confinement in city jails, and on October 25th, she will be chairing a hearing on drugs and addiction prevention in city jails. Carlina is also working on a bill to create a citywide greenway plan, which passed out of the committee last week. And this bill requires a Parks Department and a multi-agency task force to create a plan for greenways throughout the city. It is going to be led by a community engagement process focused on equity. And we're hoping that the full council can pass it later this month. We're also excited to announce participatory budgeting is back. This is a process in which community members get to decide on how to spend part of the city's budget. PB funds infrastructure projects like improvement to schools, parks, public housing, and more. If you have any ideas you would like to share, please share it at ideas.pbnyc.org. If you have any questions, you can contact me. I'm going to go ahead and put my email on the chat, and also you can give us a call at 212-677-1077.
Okay. Thank you very much, Biani. Looks like we have a question. Will Benish?
Hi, Biani. What's the deadline to submit ideas for PB? Hello? Can you hear me?
Sorry, the deadline to submit ideas to BB?
Yes.
I would have to check back on the team on that one, but you can reach out to my email. I'm going to put it in the chat,
Okay.
and I'll respond to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Biani. Okay. Next up, we have Ian Wong from Councilmember Marte's office. Ian?
Hey guys,
Happy to see you guys again. Haven't seen you guys for a long time. So first off, I want to talk about PB as well. We're also bringing back PB this year. I think for us, the deadline to submit idea is October 31st. Currently, we have more than 100 ideas, and we welcome more. Last year, because our predecessor didn't do PB, so our timeline is really short. And but we still gathered around 100 ideas, and at the end, we funded PS 124 in Chinatown and PS 20. So this year, just looking forward to receiving more ideas, especially from CB2. And just, like Biani said, you can submit the idea at the PB portal that provided by the city. And another thing I want to bring up is redistricting. I think the map has almost been finalized. It's going to be up for a vote in the next dated, which is next Thursday. And for our district and for CB2, I think we're gonna lose some of the area north of West Houston, and we're gonna gain some area between Thompson and 6th Avenue. So in the next election cycle, if you're residents in these areas, I think you are going to be voting for a different candidate. But the service are still going to be in our office until January 2024. That's pretty much it from me.
Thank you, Ian. I don't see any questions. Next up is Nicole Barth from Councilmember Botcher's office.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, great. Good evening. Just a couple of announcements today. The first thing is we have some community cleanups coming back in the district. The ones for the CB2 area will meet at Abingdon Square on October 30th, November 13th, and December 4th from 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock. So if you're so inclined, come out and join us, help us clean up the neighborhood, and meet some more people from your community. I wanted to let everybody know that our office had a meeting with Magnolia Bakery over the garbage situation at Bleecker Square, or Bleecker Playground and Bleecker Park. And they have enthusiastically joined the Adopt a Basket program through the Department of Sanitation. So they will be helping empty any of the bins that get full on the street. And they've also agreed to help changing out the bins in the park. So that was really fantastic of them. We really appreciate the effort, and that should improve the rat situation, also the garbage situation over there near Bleecker Playground. PB seems to be the subject tonight, and we are very excited about PB Cycle 12. We will be collecting ideas until the end of the month. I think we have a lot. We've had 3 neighborhood meetings where we've generated a ton of ideas, and we're still taking them. Don't forget to go onto pbnyc.org, and you can actually choose, you can submit an idea online, and then you can put in your district. We really encourage as many ideas as possible. We're very excited about it. After the idea and collection and the recruitment is over at the end of October, we'll start working on proposal development, and that's when we really need the help of budget delegates. So if you are interested in participating in this process, then please reach out to me. I'll put my name in the chat and my email address. We would love to have you join us and help whittle down all the ideas and figure out what's going to be on the ballot this year. And lastly, Eric introduced legislation, which is now going to be voted on next week. It mandates that any large building renovations or new buildings, they have to contract a pest control person. As we know, heavy construction anywhere in New York shakes up the rat, I don't want to say community, but the rats underneath the building. And so Eric feels this is extremely important to have somebody on site and hired by the building that can take care of these issues to make everyone else in the nearby buildings more comfortable and safe and reduce the infiltration of rats into other areas surrounding them. And I believe that is it for me tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nicole. I see a question. Who is that? Rocio Sands?
Hi, I just wanted to mention that according to Department of Buildings, there is already a requirement for any construction that is going to disturb the area of the building and the ground to have exterminating services provided before and during the construction of the building. So I'm not sure what how it's going to be different from what is already in place. Can you tell me that?
I would have to look at what's there presently. I was not aware of that. So I can look into that and get back to you. I can send you an email. But as far as I know, they actually have to have they have to have the person with new builds. They have to be on staff, and it's not just that they're just hiring an extra coordinator to deal with the problems as they come up. So I'll check into that and get back to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you, Nicole. Next up, we have Roy Ruiz from Assemblymember Glick's office.
Hey, how you doing? My name is Roy Ruiz. I'm the Community Affairs Liaison for Assemblymember Deborah Glick's office. I am sharing a link to our board reports. And I would be mentioning two main things that the Assembly member, she wants to remind everyone that there will be 4 proposals on the ballot next month, including the Environmental Bond Act and changes to the city charter, which would focus on the issues of equity as recommended by the Racial Justice Commission. And you can read more about that in the report. And I'll also like to highlight that Deborah submitted testimony to the Empire State Development Corporation, pushing them to commit to building 100% affordable housing at the 5 World Trade Center. And you can also read about that on our report. And that's what I have tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Roy, and sorry for mispronouncing your last name.
Okay.
And I'll get it right next month.
All right.
Okay, I don't see any questions. Next up is Stacy Johnson from Senator Kavanaugh's office.
Hello, thank you. A couple announcements. I'm going to put them in the chat when I'm done too. So if there's details that you don't catch, don't worry, I'll put them in the chat. There is let's see which one's first. I'm going to go in order. Wednesday, October 26th, and also November 14th. It's a Monday. The first one's a Wednesday, the second one's a Monday from 6 to 9 p.m. They're going to be presenting the proposals for Center for Climate Solutions, which is a project happening on Governor's Island. So the proposals are going to be presented at in-person meetings at the Museum of Jewish Heritage at 36 Battery Place. And then on the 27th of October, our office is having a deed theft hearing. So because Senator Kavanaugh is the chair of the Housing Committee, so October 27th at 10 a.m. at 250 Broadway, but it's invitation only. So all of us can watch it on the website. So the NY Senate website, there's an events tab that you go to, and there's a calendar. So you could watch that hearing. That'll be pretty interesting and super important. And the third thing, we're having a flu shot event November 3rd on a Thursday at noon until 4 at Smith Houses. So that's not in your area, but it's down by our office near City Hall. And then I just also want to just let everyone know that as we were just talking about the city council lines changing, well, the New York Senate lines are already changed, and come January 1st, we will have a slightly different shaped district. And the cool part is that for you guys, instead of me being the liaison for you, which now is just a little section of Community Board 2, we'll have all of Community Board 2. So I invite you to reach out to me if there's anything that is in Hoyleman's district. That's going to become our district. So in the next couple of months, if there's some information you need to share with me or a site visit or whatever, just know that we're going to be slowly taking over and trying to coordinate with Hoyleman's office to make sure there's nothing that slips through the cracks. So I'll put my info in the chat for that too.
Okay. Thank you very much. I don't see any questions. So next we'll go to Tevin Williams with Senator Hoyleman.
Hi,
Thank you,
good evening, everybody. Tevin Williams with State Senator Brad Hoyleman's office. Just a quick couple of announcements. Brad ended up joining CB2, and thank you so much to Lois Reckhoff, the Washington Square Park Conservancy, and also Janine Kiley for joining us for the Doris Dieter Remembrance Service this past weekend. Brad truly enjoyed it, and we're honored to give Doris a special day this fall and recognize all the hard work that she put in with CB2 and also honor her as a beloved community member. And then just the next thing, as some of you may have seen, just on Monday, Brad joined the CB2 Parks and Waterfront Committee for the pickleball situation, and we're following that closely with Councilmember Botcher's office. And then finally, I just wanted to state that Brad's bill was signed, which just happened on the 17th, for older Americans, that are the Federal Older Americans Act, which the governor just signed on the 17th, which will be for LGBTQ elders, making sure that the ones with the greatest need, social need, get the necessary resources needed to lead dignified lives. So all of these people will get the help that they need across the state and city. That's all I have on my end. As our colleagues are mentioning, redistricting is coming up. We will be losing a lot of CB2, as I mentioned last week, but please feel free to reach out to us till the end of the year. I'm more than happy to be your liaison until then. And we'll have a small section of it come New Year, and I'm excited to still keep working with some of you until then. So thank you so much. I'll put the board report in the chat. Thank you, Janine, and thank you, CB2.
Okay, I don't see any questions, so thank you very much for joining us tonight. Okay, I think that is it for our elected official reports. So if we could, I want to just circle back. Is there
Do we have anybody from the borough president's office, Janine?
Yeah, we'll come back to that. That's I skipped something. There's our motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, the agenda is adopted. Now we will move to the borough president's report, and I think that's Andrew Chang. Andrew?
Hello, good evening, everybody. I will try to be brief. I just want to echo what Tevin said. I was also at the celebrating Doris Dieter events at Washington Square Park with Janine and Lois and several other community board members. It was a wonderful event. In terms of office business, we're still collecting donations for the asylum seekers at our downtown office at 1 Center Street, 19th floor south, or at our uptown office on 125th Street. We're still looking for toiletries, diapers, new clothing, winter clothing. So if you want to donate items, please let me know, or stop by the office. Regarding, so we released a report regarding e-commerce delivery vehicles affecting the roadways and streets and public sidewalks. As you all know, Amazon and Fresh Direct and all these delivery vehicles, they sort their products and packages sometimes on the street, sometimes they take over public space. So this report on our website has a series of recommendations on how we can alleviate these quality of life issues, to take these operations off our streets and sidewalks, to ensure that residential areas can meet the growing demand for deliveries, to make e-commerce deliveries more sustainable, and how we can better enforce the city's traffic laws. And regarding, I guess, open meetings, it looks like we're still continuing to do virtual meetings through October 26th. And the borough president is still encouraging folks to get their booster shot for the new variants, and And it looks like monkeypox cases have decreased, but we should still remain vigilant. And that's all I have to report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andrew.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. I just remembered one more thing. Sorry, Janine.
No
We're
worries.
having an open house New York events this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the municipal building on the mezzanine floor. Once again, we'll be showcasing the 1820s John Randall farm maps. We did it the last several years, so feel free to come on by on Saturday.
Okay, thank you. Andrew, one question that's in the chat for the donation drive. Do the clothes need to be new items in the with the tags on them, or?
Yes, new clothes. Thanks for the question, Kate. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Andrew. And that is it for Borough President report. I'm going to let me change you back to attendee. So at this point, we'll move to the chair's report. Andrew, actually, if we could just, I'm gonna confirm, because I had a different date for the final virtual, but I will get back to our board ASAP on that tomorrow. In terms of local issues on the cannabis front, shout out to CB2 board member Mark Fitzgerald, who has been working with the Borough President's office in terms of recommendations for CBs to meet with CAURD cannabis business applicants at the end of the year and to receive regular license applicants mid-2023. This includes templates for the applicant questionnaire, resolutions to the state, a guidance sheet on what applicants can expect when they appear before the board, and stipulations. The Office of Cannabis Management is expected to deliver final regulations mid-November. There's work being done to strengthen enforcement in regard to illicit sales, which we've talked about tonight, including expanding taxation and finance and OCM's compliance unit powers to penalize the illegal shops. I just also want to do a shout out, and actually, if we could not spotlight, just go to gallery view, please. In terms of, CB2 has received many complaints about the traffic situation on West 3rd Street between LaGuardia Place and Mercer Street. We had reached out to the Department of Transportation for New York City to do a site visit and walkthrough, and they came last Friday, and couldn't have been more perfect. They saw for themselves pretty much every single problem that we heard about in the CB2 office that are occurring, and assured us they will work to get it right. They're hoping to start instituting some solutions as soon as possible, and I'm planning to come back to CB2 in early December to update us on what they have done so far and observe conditions again. Unfortunately, the DOT, like many other city agencies, may not move as quickly as we want, and but now that they've seen the problems, we're hopeful that they can be remedied. I just want to talk about a couple big openings in CB2 that happened. Paul's Place is officially opened, quietly opened on 14th Street. It's a new safe haven style homeless shelter and drop-in center. And God's Love We Delivered opened at the Northern Dispensary at the end of September on 165 Waverly. I want to highlight what already this is. And then I just want to talk, it's Halloween. There's lots of free stuff happening. So the big events are CB2's and NYU will host the 32nd annual Children's Halloween Parade on Halloween from 3 to 6 p.m. Meet at the Arch, and afterwards there's goodie bags and games and performances on LaGuardia Place. And that information went out on the CB2 newsletter. And of course, there's always the big Village Halloween Parade for all ages at 7 p.m. And I'm going to put in the chat, there are a ton of free Halloween events. This weekend on Sunday, Friends of Bleecker Playground is back with their huge Halloween festival. That's 10 to 3. On Monday, you can stop by Abington Square and pick up a pumpkin and bring it back for their pumpkin patch on Halloween. Next week on Friday afternoon on the 28th, Jefferson Market Garden has their children's pumpkin patch, and Washington Square Park also has an event in the large playground. On the 28th is a Halloween night at the Whitney. It requires membership, but there's a link for youth organizations. So we'll put this all in our newsletter. Little Island has Day of the Dead at 1 p.m. More toddler activities on the 29th. On Sunday, the Children's Museum of Art has a block party on Spring Street. And the Jackie Robinson Museum has a costume showcase at the museum on the 30th. And I think we heard earlier tonight there are pet Halloween parades in Washington Square Park and Elizabeth Street Garden. Free to observe, $20 to enter both of those. So I just wanted to share that with everyone. On the personnel front, CB2 has interviewed 6 candidates for district manager. We're still getting resumes in, so stay tuned. We hope to bring finalists to the board next month. Last Saturday, I think we heard that Friends of Doris Diether unveiled a bench in her memory at Washington Square Park. Encourage everyone to go and to take a look at this. I'm going to just re-put in. I actually saw the Robert Moses play recently, and it's all about Jane Jacobs and Robert Moses, but it really should include our lovely Doris Diether, who I hope she provides some information to everyone in terms of their community service. In terms of just committees and logistics, we are renaming the Gansevoort Arts Advisory Panel. The Community Facilities Advisory Panel will still be chaired by David Gruber. NYU, as part of their 2012 rezoning, is going to soon be opening up 181 Mercer Street. I actually saw the scaffolding being taken down today in mid-afternoon, so I'm assuming it'll be gone by tomorrow. So this is opening soon, and they have a 750 square foot ground floor space that essentially is on Green Street. They're going to rent for $30 a square foot to a 501c3. CB2 will have information about that at a meeting next month. We have a new public member of our Quality of Life Committee, Joanna Lawton. She's with her day job is with Rebuild by Design and really will enhance our expertise in resiliency. And we have a new board member. He's joining us for the first time tonight, Juan Osorio. Juan, maybe say hello so your picture is spotlighted. Juan is a West Village resident. He recently finished an accelerated master's program at NYU Wagner. And while he was in school, he worked for a lot of elected officials, Kirsten Gillibrand, State Senator Tish James, Representative AOC, Bill de Blasio. And he recently joined the Parkside Group as a scheduler. Welcome, Juan. We're glad to have you at CB2.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. Very excited.
Okay. Thank you, Juan. And that is it for my chair's report. I think I see 2 questions. Ed Ma? Ed, do you have a question?
Ed, you have to unmute.
Yes, I don't have an opinion. No, thank you. I don't have, no. So far.
Oh, no question. Okay. And Rocio, you had a question?
Yes, I do. More of a question is something to everyone think about. It seems to me that the government, realizing that there is a lot of money to be made with the cannabis business. However, and they're pushing for this to happen, to get people signed up and to have all these stores open up for selling marijuana. My question and my comment to all of you is, what tests are available for the enforcement of DUI? As far as I know, there are none. So now we're selling this drug for people to consume whenever they feel like it in the street, actually having a negative impact on the people that pass by or are near people who are consuming this. And I think it's a violation of my rights, who I am very allergic to this kind of smoke or any kind of smoke. So I don't understand. Does anybody realize what's going on? That's my comment and my question.
Okay. Well, I don't have an answer in terms of, you talked about DUI. Hopefully we can certainly ask that at our precinct meetings and the next district service cabinet meeting. And hopefully these people will take public transportation. Mar, you want to just address this? Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So we aren't actually selling any cannabis yet. So any sales that are happening right now are in fact illegal. I think Janine just illustrated what efforts are being taken to increase enforcement around that. No, there is not an impaired driving cannabis test yet, but it is being developed. In fact, it's written into the MRTA and the regulations. Final regulations are coming out mid-November. We know that impaired driving is a concern, but until these dispensaries are actually open, which could be at the end of the year, I'm guessing probably not. You know, there's no correlation between legal cannabis sales and impaired driving at this time.
Yep. Thank you.
And Chris?
Yeah, there was a 5-year study done after the legalization in Colorado, and there was a direct correlation between decreases in opioid addiction, and there was no actual increase in DWIs. But I will grant that obviously that comes with how, as Marja said, there is no current method. Outside of that, the overall positives are normally good, especially considering that small businesses get to profit and taxes for the locals. So in terms of, have people been smoking weed in New York City forever? Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate everyone's input on this. Okay. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Anthony Wong for our quarterly treasurer's report. Anthony?
Yeah, not much expenditures this particular quarter. So on your left-hand side, you'll see the budget that we have for this particular year. We do have a $500 increase in terms of discretionary funds from our city council members' office, and then we're still anticipating to get street fair funds of around $2,800. And then let's see what else. Just an update in terms of small expenditures. We should be having like a little bit of a windfall because these past couple of months we don't have a DM, so that money perhaps will be able to use for office supplies and other expenditures towards the copy machine, etc. But internally, as Janine reported to us recently to executive committee, we're going to be having an increase in our rent. So we'll be dealing with, the city will be dealing with NYU in order to hash out some sort of lease. And maybe Janine just wants to has details, but yeah, we'll be talking about that for the upcoming months. Yeah.
Thank you, Anthony. I see a question from Dr. Smith.
Yes, Anthony, I want to ask you, the money that is raised when we have the street fair.
Correct. Yeah.
What was the amount and how is it? Are there restrictions on what it can be used for?
The current amount that we have is $62,420.
Yeah, I see that. But how is
usually those funds are used for reimbursements used by staff when they have, like when Bob, he had to pay for certain subscriptions such as the email subscription, and he paid it out of pocket and we reimburse him out of that. So those are sort of like emergency funds on the side when we don't have like some sort of vendor relationship. Yeah, he has to go through this lengthy process to get just paid out for some petty cash.
Okay. I haven't been watching the budget that close, to be honest. So when those items, those transactions are made, are they also listed in your budget?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, and we are going to be working on ways to hopefully get some of these paid directly so people don't have to put stuff on their personal credit card and be reimbursed. But going forward. Thank you, Dr. Smith. Thank you, Anthony. At this time, we will enter the CB2 business session. We have 27 public attendees. You are all welcome to continue to stay on, but you will be just in listening mode as this is a public meeting and open to the public. But thank you for everyone for joining us this evening. I'm going to turn it back to Ritu, who will take attendance. And I just want to give a shout out. Our new secretary, Amy Brenna, who is joining us tonight, is sick and has no voice, which is why she's not taking attendance, because we wouldn't be able to hear her. So thank you, Ritu, for stepping up.
All right, Susanna Aaron is absent with notice. Natasha Avanesian.
Here.
Thank you. Akila Asqui. William Benish.
Here.
Keen Berger.
Here.
Carter Booth.
Here.
Katie Bordenaro.
Here.
Anita Brandt.
Here.
Amy Brenna, I'm gonna count you as present. Save your voice. Rich Cacapolo.
Here.
Ritu Chatri, present. Valerie De La Rosa, I'm gonna mark you as present as well. I know you're only in listening mode. John Paul DeVerna. John Paul. Okay. Chris Dignas.
Hi, I'm here.
Is that John Paul? Sorry.
No, that was Chris.
No, I'm Chris.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I'm not looking at the screen. Bob Ely.
Yes.
Mara Fitzgerald.
Here.
Stella Fitzgerald.
Here.
Cormac Flynn.
Here.
Susan Gammy.
Here.
David Gruber is absent with notice. Wayne Kwadler.
Here.
Susan Kent.
Here.
Ryder Kessler.
Here.
Janine Kiley.
Here.
Ivy Kwan Ars is absent with notice. Patricia Laria.
Here.
Michael Levine.
Here.
Janet Liff. Ed Ma.
Here.
Matt Metzger.
Here, sorry.
No problem. Dan Miller.
Here.
Mustafa Osman is absent with notice. Juan Osorio.
Here.
Brian Pape.
Present.
Donna Raftery. Lois Rakoff. Lois?
I am still here.
Okay. Bo Riccobono.
Here.
I am
How's
here.
Sorry, who was that?
Lois, I
Oh,
am
okay.
here.
I got you, Lois. Zach Roberts is absent with notice. Robin Rothstein.
Here.
Rocio Sands.
Present.
Shirley Secunda.
Here.
Kristen Shea.
Here.
Frederica Siegel is absent with notice. Dr. Shirley Smith. Chenault Spence.
Here.
Great, Chenault. Dr. Smith. Okay.
I said present. Obviously, you didn't hear me, but present, yes.
Thank you. Susan Wittenberg is absent with notice. Sorry. Anthony Wong.
Here.
Cheryl Wu.
Here. Here.
Got you.
Okay, good.
Eugene Yu.
Present.
Thank you. And Adam Zeldin.
Here. John DeVerna is here. Sorry.
Great. Gotcha. And just a couple of others here. I just want to go back. I think we're good. Thank you, Janine.
Thank you, Ritu. Thank you very much. Okay, I'd like to go approve the September minutes. Everyone should have received the September minutes via email. Are there any additions or corrections to these minutes? Okay. Do we have a motion to, oh, Rocio? Yes.
I would like to request to have my name spelled properly on the report, please.
Okay. Is that okay? We will fix that. Amy and Ritu, if you could note that, so we fix that in the official record.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rocio. Okay. Any other comments? Okay, do we have a motion to approve the minutes with Rocio's name corrected?
So moved.
There's second?
Second.
Second.
Okay. Wonderful. We'll approve the September minutes. They're adopted. Now we're going to move to our standing committee reports. First up is Land Use and Housing. Vice Chair Eugene, you will present since Frederica is absent tonight. Eugene?
Thank you, Janine. So for Land Use and Housing, we met in October to discuss an application for 815 Broadway, BSA calendar number 19705BZ. This is an application to extend construction time of an 11-story mixed-use building with ground floor commercial space. The applicant was seeking modification of one of the conditions that the BSA attached to its most recent extension of time for the project, and that condition was no further extension of time. There were no changes to the most recently approved plans in the request. So whereas, and this applicant had been before the Land Use Committee several times. So on June 13th, 2018, CB2
Eugene,
recommended—
just read the therefore be it resolved. So,
sure.
Okay.
So the committee voted to therefore be it resolved that CB2 concurred with the 2018 BSA decision to deny any further extensions of construction time for the project. There were 7 in favor and 2 opposed and 1 abstaining.
Okay. I see a Rocio question.
Thank you, Eugene, for the report, presenting the report for us. I do have a couple of questions. I noticed in the resolution that the applicant said that the excuse was pandemic related, correct? Okay, so my question is, do you know if there are any leases in place which would prevent the actual building of this building? The commercial and residential tenants are, and if we know, are there leases that will be expiring, and are there any court cases regarding the building and the renters which have prevented the demolition of the buildings? Did they present any of that?
They did not, and I want to just clarify their COVID. They said that was part of their request, but they did not. They actually said that they had financing issues, and that they, in fact, we all remember during COVID, there was not actually a stop. There was a small pause, but DOB allowed building construction to continue during the pandemic. They did not file any construction permits during that time. As to your questions about ground, whether there were leases, I'm not aware of any.
Okay. Thank you, Rocio. Ryder Kessler.
Thanks. Yeah, I just am curious to hear from one of the folks who voted no, what their reasoning was. And I think I probably am asking this to Michael Levine, since I think Frederica is not here.
Yes, I can quickly say that initially I was opposed to the resolution because I felt that we could grant them an extension, but I have changed my mind since then. And although the resolution indicates that I voted in opposition to it, I've changed my mind. I believe that we should not be granting an extension of their approval for an additional period of time, and I intend to vote in favor of the resolution here tonight at the board meeting, based upon a change in my mind after having considered the facts in question.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. So we're going to use the same voting method we've used in past virtual meetings, where we remove all the resolutions to an omnibus vote that we vote on at the end. And actually, a couple of us were on a call with Juan yesterday, so he's sort of up to speed on this. But if anyone would like to vote on an item as it is called, you can request that we do that. Is there any unwillingness to use the omnibus vote? Okay, seeing none. Is there any objection to, I don't see any other questions. Is there any objection to moving the one land use resolution to the omnibus vote? Okay. Wonderful. We will move that to the omnibus vote. Thank you, Eugene. Next up is Mar Fitzgerald, Equity, Race, and Justice.
Hi. Let's see. This month we invited back Commissioner Harold Miller from the Racial Justice Commission. He came last year around the same time when they were working on the ballot measures for the city charter that will appear on our ballot on November 8th. They had several recommendations, thousands actually, I think they said this morning at Borough Board, but there are 3 questions that they are posing to make changes to the city charter for this round of election. So we wrote a resolution to support the ideas behind the ballot measures that are being proposed. And I will read the therefore be it, well, I'll say what they are very quickly. The first one is to create a statement of values guide to government. The second one is to establish a racial equity office, plan, and commission. And the third is to measure the true cost of living. And therefore be it resolved, the Community Board 2 Manhattan supports all 3 measures proposed by the Racial Justice Commission for the New York City Charter. That's it.
Thank you, Mar. Any questions? Carter?
Yeah, you know, this is an interesting resolution because we're taking a position on something that's on the ballot in this fall, and I was just wondering, I don't recall us having done that before, number one, and I just wondering why we're not supporting the fact that it's on the ballot instead.
Well, I personally was not comfortable saying vote this way. I also don't know that we can do that. So what we did, and we talked about this in committee, but what we did was we supported the measures themselves without speaking to them as a voting option. So, and it's, you know, it's the same thing I actually did in my other club, which is it's a recommendation, right? Because it's not voting for an official. So that was the logic behind that. If you had another idea, I'd be open to hear it, but I think that this is sufficient for us to take a position on just supporting these ballot measures simply so people can know. And also, Racial Justice Commission came this morning to Borough Board and did a wonderful presentation, and there's an entire toolkit that they have offered to all the boards to be able to support, so we can share that.
Yeah, I think that, you know, what we heard though, because I was at your meeting, was that it was to educate people so that they can make the decision when they vote. It's just unusual. I'm not sure that the board wants to be directing letters to our constituents on positions just as a general, you know, just line, as opposed to supporting these matters being put before the public for a vote. So that's
which is exactly why I didn't support the voting for these measures. I supported the actual mechanisms, right? That's what we did. We supported the mechanisms that I think we can all agree that all of these ideas are great ideas and would be a wonderful benefit to the charter. So, and to the city and to the city citizens, and begin to dismantle a lot of the harm that has been done to a lot of the citizens of New York City over a lot of time, a long, long time. So that is what it is. It's the spirit. It is the actual implementation of the measures, but we're not telling anybody how to vote.
Thank you. We have another question from Rocio.
Well, I wanted to say that we should not all assume that we all agree with what you just said.
Well, that's why we vote at the end of the meeting.
No, this is point of information. I agree with everything that Carter stated. And so that the response given to him that we all agree. No, we don't all agree on everything. That's why we have these board meetings.
I think I do want to clarify, was this vote unanimous at the committee level?
So, as you know, we did a letter.
Okay.
Originally, we did a letter, and then I'm sorry. Are we okay with sound? Is something not muted? So we did a letter originally because we wanted to have a letter to share with the public because it would be easier reading than a resolution. But as you know, you asked me to turn it into a resolution at the very last minute. So that's what we did. And I distributed the letter, but I did not get all of the votes back from everybody. So while we were in full agreement of the letter, which is exactly the same as the resolution minus the whereas and that therefore be it resolved, that's what we had. And there were committee members that actually wanted the letter that we originally wrote to in fact be a resolution and felt that it was the stronger support of the measures.
Either way, we will vote on it tonight. Rocio, do you have another question?
So the letter was unanimous is my point. And
the letter
it's
was
the exact
unanimous.
same language.
Okay. I just want to clarify. Rocio, do you have another question?
Yes, I do. Did you just state that we're going to be voting on the letter?
No, we're voting on the resolution, Rocio. The
voting on
that was sent to you if you had read your package.
I have numerous of pages. You can't see them, but
it's a little
of my notes and all the resolutions in the complete package. So
yeah, thank you, Rocio. I know you read the resolutions. Okay, I'm going to go to Will Benish because he hasn't asked a question yet, and then I'm going to go back to Carter.
No, I was just going to say, in line with what Carter was saying, I mean, I don't know if it sends a bit of a weird message because, there's a fourth proposal on the ballot and we actually had them present before our committee on the Environmental Bond Act. And we did not take a position on that one. So I don't know if that's a little bit inconsistent. Maybe it's not a big deal. But that one, just as a point of information, that one was just a report with no resolution that we did. So yeah, I mean, I agree with the letter, and I think I'm going to support all the proposals, obviously, but I don't know if it's a bit of an inconsistency. Maybe it's fine, but I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you, Will. Carter?
Well, I mean, just correct me if I'm wrong. What's before us is the letter, because that's what's in our package.
No,
right?
what's before you is the resolution, which is in the package.
Okay, that's not what's in my package. It says Dear Community Board 2 residents.
Yeah, but it's written as a resolution. It's got the whereases. I mean, I guess it's strike that.
They might not have the right one, Janine, because the resolution that I sent you guys does not say dear or anything.
Okay.
So I think they got the letter by accident.
No, it says whereas, and therefore be it resolved with a typo and therefore. So I think it was just that was not cut off.
Okay, but this wasn't voted on at the committee, correct?
The resolution was not, the letter was unanimous.
Okay.
Right.
And it's the exact same order, same wording, except the beginning of each paragraph, I then put whereas, and then at the end, therefore be it resolved. So it was exactly the same.
So we will need to vote on this tonight.
So why wouldn't we just put in there at the end, therefore be it resolved that CB2 Manhattan supports the placement of all three measures proposed by the Racial Justice Commission for the New York City Charter on the ballot?
Carter, are you offering an amendment? Are you offering an amendment to this resolution?
Well, I'm just
No. Either you're offering an amendment because that.
Sure, I'll put it forward as an amendment and we can vote on it, but I don't understand what, I'm just trying to understand
Okay,
what we're trying
Carter,
to
that's what it
accomplish.
says.
No, it isn't.
No, it
Actually,
doesn't.
the on the ballot part isn't on there.
Yeah, it
So-
just
Oh,
that
yes, but
supports
that
all three measures being placed on the ballot as proposed by the Racial Justice Commission for the New York City Charter. And I bring that up very specifically because I think that's the democracy in action, is being more able to put ballot measures before the voters, right? If that's the decision-making place. And I think we should be supporting that because that's how we get change.
Okay.
By putting
So let
them
me
on
just
the
read
ballot.
this.
If for whatever, if by some strange, happenstance, those don't get passed, if they don't get voted on, if New Yorkers don't vote to adopt these, would we still adopt them? So I'm thinking, would we still think they were a good idea? Shouldn't we be thinking beyond the voting?
But that's not what's before us. That's why, and I do want to make that as a suggested change, but that's
Okay.
not what's before us. What's
Okay, so
before
we have
us
an
is-
amendment on the floor that says, therefore be it resolved, the Community Board 2 Manhattan supports all three measures placed on the ballot proposed by the Racial Justice Commission for the New York City Charter. Is that correct, Carter?
Yes.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We had second from Rocio. Dr. Smith, do you have a question or comment on this amendment, proposed amendment?
Lowering my hand.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
So we're gonna have, okay, so we're gonna have a vote on this amendment. I'm gonna do quick and dirty, and if we don't need a voice vote, if we don't need a roll call vote, we won't have one. Do we have any opposition to this amendment? I thought you seconded it, Lucio.
No, the amendment is fine, but.
Okay, we're voting on the amendment.
The amendment is fine.
Okay, so everyone.
I have opposition to the amendment.
Okay.
I'm not comfortable with us telling people how to vote. Period.
Well, we're not telling people how to vote, so we're supporting that it was placed on the ballot.
Yeah.
We've got a raised hand.
Will?
Let me try to clarify, because I think there's still a little confusion. The way I'm seeing it now is Carter's amendment is actually, to me, makes it read less like we're telling people how to vote. The way it reads now, to me at least, seems like we're saying we support a yes vote, whereas Carter's amendment to me makes it sound like we're just supporting the fact that this has gone to a referendum. So that maybe others read it a different way, but that's how I read
That's
the
your
amendment, actually
interpretation of
making
it. Okay.
less. I don't know if that's
Cormac?
the intention, but yeah, I think that's.
I withdraw my objection.
Okay, Cormac, do you have a similar comment or?
I did, but since it's already now moot, I'll
Okay,
make,
well,
I'll
wonderful.
make a
We don't
different
need to have
comment on the issue.
Okay, wonderful.
Which is that I just, in terms of the propriety of it, and I just throw it out there for people who've been on the board a long time, do we ever endorse legislation, right? Say that a certain piece of legislation should be passed.
We absolutely do, all the time.
I think we do. And so my point is that a ballot measure is legally speaking the same as legislation, just with the entire electorate acting as a legislature. So if we can endorse legislation, there's no reason that we couldn't endorse and express how we think people should vote on this.
Yeah, thank you, Cormac. That's very helpful. Keen? Keen, you need to unmute yourself.
I heard two different versions of what we're voting on. So could you please restate
So
it?
we have an amendment. It's adds, there's only, therefore be it resolved that Community Board 2 Manhattan supports all three measures placed on the ballot proposed by the Racial Justice Commission for New York City Charter. So the addition is placed on the ballot, period. And that is the amendment that's before us. Is that clear, Keen?
Supports the placement of or supports the amendment? Supports these.
That all three measures
supports the placement of?
The placement supports the placement of all three measures on the ballot as proposed. So supports the placement.
Is that what it is? Because that is different.
I'm just it's slightly different wording, but let me just type that into the chat. I'm going to type the whole sentence into the chat so everyone has it.
I think the difference is whether we're supporting.
If you guys could raise your hand, please. I'm going to do shorthand. Therefore, be it resolved. Donna?
I was just going to say, therefore be resolved that all three measures be placed on the ballot. Is that what we're saying?
That's helpful.
Or that all three measures proposed by the Racial Justice Commission for the New York City Charter be placed on the ballot. I think that's what we're trying to say. Is that not?
Yeah, I'm just typing it in. I'm not that fast of a typer. Okay. Therefore, be it resolved that CB2 Manhattan supports that all three measures be placed on the ballot as proposed by the Racial Justice Commission for the New York City Charter. And that is the language that we would be voting on. Rocio, do you have another comment on this?
Yes, I do. I believe that all those are already on the ballot. I already voted absentee and they were on the ballot. So why are we saying that they should be on the ballot when they already are on the ballot?
We support that they're on the ballot.
So that's what
you
we're
would like to
now.
Okay, this is the Carter, if you would like to tweak your amendment from what I just typed in, you're welcome to do so. Otherwise, this is the amendment we are voting on. And you can vote against the amendment or for it. Carter, did you have any tweaks to what you would propose?
No, I mean, that's what I presented. I mean, the point here is
Okay.
that they came to educate all of us on the measures so that we can all make our decisions.
Yeah.
And that's why they came to Borough Board.
Thank
And
you.
this is a great process, and this is how, change happens. So that's why I think it's important, even though they're already on the ballot, to support it.
Yeah, and some people voted early like you, but some people have not yet. So thank you for voting and thank you for voting early. So at this point, the amendment is that's in the chat. All in favor of the amendment, say aye.
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 Shirley, I'm sorry, Shirley,
Aye.
did you have a question? We were
Yes,
already
I
voting.
did. I'm looking at this and it says CB2 Manhattan supports that all three measures be placed on the ballot as proposed by the Racial Justice Commission for the New York City Charter. That's what it's saying.
Yes.
in the chart. Is that what we want? It's on the ballot already.
It could be.
We support
the
that it's on the
placement
ballot.
on
That's the same question that Rocio asked.
So then it should be all that supports all three measures on the ballot, not be placed on the ballot.
Okay, then let's, okay. Well, this was what,
On the ballot.
We already
Okay,
voted,
enough.
and that's wasn't on the floor.
okay. Do you want to, okay. Do you
What's
want
on the
to,
floor?
okay, well, it wasn't on the floor, and so we've had that resolution passed. Do we have another amendment, Matt?
Do we know that it passed?
Okay, do we have any opposition to this amendment? Because I need people to not raise their hands in the middle of a vote. Okay, do we have opposition?
So I was going to say point of order that I think that's a roll call vote. I don't.
Okay, but I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna have a roll call vote if we're gonna have two people opposed. So, can I just?
I'm voting no.
You're voting no. Do we have other no votes?
I'm voting no for seal.
You supported the amendment. You were seconding.
I know, but I don't like the whole thing, period.
Okay,
Still
fine.
don't know what's up there.
Okay. So it looks like we have 4 no. Are these raised hands for no votes or are these raised hands for comments? Because we're voting now. Is there raised hands? So we have 3 no votes. The amendment passes. If Shirley Secunda wants to make a second amendment to change it, we can do that. But that's what's on the table. Amy, do you have a question or are you voting?
Confused.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so therefore be it resolved. Ritu, do you have a question or are you voting?
I have a question.
Yes.
Or a comment.
Okay.
I believe that we have been arguing over semantics over here. And what has been put forth by the committee was originally a letter in support of the 3 measures. That was turned into a resolution that stated we supported the three measures. The amendment that Carter put forth was to say, we don't want to say that we support the three measures. We just want to say we support that those three measures have been put on the ballot.
Yes, you are just
Okay.
restating what we just discussed.
I think it has been difficult, Janine, for people to have understood that back and forth. It's like watching ping pong in a bad game.
Okay, well, that's why I typed it into the chat. So I'm sorry. So I'm sorry for the confusion. That is what we voted on. It's the language is in the chat minus there's a typo there. Because it says that versus the. So Amy, do you have a question? Lower your hand then. Thank you. Okay, do we have another amendment then, Ritu? Are you suggesting a second amendment, another amendment? No, okay. So, so the resolution, unless somebody wants to further amend it, is therefore be it resolved the CB2 Manhattan supports all three measures be placed on the ballot as proposed by the Racial Justice Commission for the New York City Charter. Okay, Ryder.
Sorry, I think the intention of the amendment as offered was supports that they have been placed, not that they be placed, that it's a past tense placement, not a future. Can we tweak that language given the alignment of that tweak with the spirit of the amendment without re-amending it? It's really kind of just like a typo.
I would agree with that.
Okay, so let me just, I'm gonna therefore be it resolved that CB2 Manhattan supports that all three measures have been placed on the ballot as proposed by the Racial Justice Commission for the New York City Charter.
I think that
I think that is better grammatically. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ryder. Thank you, Carter. So at this point, I do not see any other hands up. Is there any objection, any willingness to move this resolution as minorly amended into the omnibus vote? Seeing none, we will move the equity, race, and justice resolution into the omnibus vote. Everyone, if you have amendments going forward, ideally, if you could scribble on a piece of paper or type on a word and share your screen, whatever, so we can have the language in front of us as we go forward. So it's much easier. We have it that way. Thank you. Next up is Rich Cacapolo, Parks and Waterfront.
Hi, everyone. Parks and Waterfront Committee meeting. We usually meets first Wednesday of the month, but due to holidays, we didn't get a chance to meet until Monday, just a couple of days ago. And we usually have a, this was not a typical meeting. We used this opportunity more to do kind of a hearing, a community or a public hearing about some activities at Sarah Valley Playground, which really involved primarily pickleball and the growth of pickleball and the use of pickleball by various players and what is an unpermitted space. By that, I mean people don't reserve time there. And so after we had some introductions from elected officials and the new recently appointed Manhattan Borough Commissioner, Anthony Perez, but the real goal was to get people, community members, pickleball players to, use the time to comment, and we had, I think, almost 200 people attend, most who listened, but quite a few commented. And we wanted to write we didn't want to propose anything. That wasn't our job. Our goal was to, to act as a vehicle to get people to comment about what was happening there at Sarah Valley. So we wrote a resolution, and I just want to read it's kind of a putting down a line, a marker at the start of what is going to be a process of trying to, find a resolution. So you can read the resolution or finding a resolution to the problem. Different use of the word resolution. So we have these comments in the whereases, and then I'll read it that therefore be it resolved that Community Board 2 Manhattan 1 values our role of assisting and addressing community needs and concerns by acting as a conduit and as advocates for community residents to city agencies, and 2 sees the Parks and Waterfront Committee, our committee's meeting of October 17th, 2022 as a successful beneficial step in a continuing process of finding solutions that will balance the objectives and goals of both pickleball players who want space to play and residents who adamantly want to protect the open, unpermitted space at Sarah Valley Playground from this use they believe to be inappropriate and potentially dangerous. And 3, hopes to be included in the next steps of the process, including presentation of proposals to the community. And 4, encourages the Department of Parks and Recreation to suggest viable options for more pickleball courts in the future, while concurrently reviewing and posting guidelines for use of Sarah Valley Playground. So understandings clearly communicated and rules can be enforced when necessary. So that was the result of our meeting. And
Thank you, Rich.
sure.
Do we have any questions? Any oh, okay. Seeing questions. Lucia, you have a question. Okay.
Rick, did you get any feedback at all regarding the Houston Street playground, the Walker?
Passanante.
Passanante.
Passanante, yes, thank you, Passanante.
So
I
Passanante,
understand that there were a lot of people who were against pickle players because this park actually services the local schools in the neighborhood where recess takes place during school hours and after school. I know that this is about Sarah Valley. I understand that. Yeah. But the fact that I know that about 3,000 people signed petition against having this at Houston Street Park. So my question to you is,
Rich, maybe you can clarify which is which.
So the petitions were about the use of Sarah Valley, and the difference between Passanante and Sarah Valley, there's an important difference, and that is that Sarah Valley is, as I said, an unpermitted space where outside of a basketball court there, where the community really values the fact that kids can use it for unstructured play. Passanante actually is a permitted space. Many of the events that you see taking place there, whether it's the school playing at recess or the roller hockey game that's been played there on weekends for many, many years, are granted permits. There are times that are unpermitted, and courts may pop up. There are times when a pickleball is permitted. In fact, there's some space there that's supposed to be used for pickleball. But Passanante and Sarah Valley are different in that key way, which is that one's permitted, one's not. But again, these petitions that were submitted were related to Sarah Valley.
So a lot of people are against it anyway.
I'm not sure that
against both. I know that Sarah Valley and against Passanante.
Rocio, we're not going to have back and forth. This meeting was specifically about Sarah Valley.
I understand.
So that's it. Bob?
Yeah, I just, Rich, just in terms of, what is the committee's plan moving forward? Is there going to be some sort of recommendation about the park at some point in the future that we can look forward to?
Well, that's not our job. Our job, I think, is to try to get proposals from the Parks Department and others, and then try to get them in front of the community and use our role in a way to get some feedback on those. So what I'm hoping to see is that the Department of Parks and Recreation will come up some proposals and use various ways to get, to communicate that, including and get feedback on them, including through our committee.
It wasn't I'm sorry, I try not to do the back and forth, Janine, but
yeah, but you are.
I apologize.
Yes.
Just one quick back and forth here. So
that's it.
Just one. But my impression was that the Parks Department had already come up with a plan or a resolution where there were going to be 2 courts, and that's it. And so is that changing?
No, that's wrong. First of all, that's wrong.
Okay.
So as far as whether it's going to change, that's up to them. But what happened was, and it's I think I put it in the notes there, is Commissioner Castro, who's since retired, he was he decided that they would install, without any community discussion, 2 courts kind of at the edge of the open unpermitted space. And so they painted down 2 20 by 24 foot courts. And that was just a test, and there was some feedback on whether that test was good or not, and whether it should have been done without community input or not. And there was great question as to whether that, in fact, spurred other courts to be set up by groups that came. And so that was part of the discussion. And part of the response from Parks Department will be whether or not they remove those courts or they handle those courts in some fashion. But that was not proposed. And I think, again, it's important. I don't think our job, and I'm sort of tempted always to try to get proposals out, but that wasn't our job here. Our job, and I don't want to be accused of trying to negotiate something behind the scenes. That was not it. Our goal was to get the community and both sides or all views out. And so we tried to do that. Next step will be to hear from the Parks Department about what they think is best, and they can make some proposals.
And people can then respond, and that will be at another public meeting.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Dr. Smith?
It's not a back and forth, but could you be a bit more specific about what did the community say and what did the pickleball people say? I mean, you're speaking kind of in vague generalities, and it's kind of hard for me to.
Well, the details are in the minutes, which is why he's giving an overview.
Okay, so
Rich, why don't you give a 2-sentence
give a quick overview, Rich.
No, I don't feel comfortable doing that. I mean, there's a transcript, you can see it.
Yeah.
There are a lot of different positions, and there are a lot of and people express them in different ways. And some people thought very strongly that pickleball should be allowed at all, and other people said, well, there must be a balance that can be found. Some people said pickleball people were not polite or courteous. Others said pickleball people who were playing were not from the community, and that raised, that's never a great, comfortable, clear thing. So it's hard to categorize the comments, but I think there was.
I will share just, Rich, for everyone who's interested, and this won't help you. If you did not attend the meeting, we will. The office will be posting all meetings on Fridays. Given limited staffing, but they'll be posting them on the CB2 YouTube channel. So if you're interested, you can take a look at it. And if you're interested in the chat, or the transcript, we can also get that to you. Obviously, the transcript is not perfect, but I do want to point out that when the videos are on YouTube, you can watch them at however fast you would like to watch the video, or skip to the good parts. Okay. Michael Levine.
Yes, real quick question, Rich. In the resolution, I don't recall if I heard this. Is there a due date for the Department of Parks and Recreation to come back with a proposal, or are you leaving that up to them?
We didn't give them a due date, but I'm confident that they're going to come back very, very quickly.
Can we expect something before next summer when you might get a really hot pickleball season again?
Okay, please mute yourself if you're not talking.
Before next summer, I think before next, I think very quickly, I would say before next month, this is it's a very heated thing, and the situation there gets quite contentious on certain days, particularly on weekends. So all the elected officials and the Parks Department and the police who have been called in at various times would like to get this resolved. And the solutions, let's say that other places are offered up, it may take a little while to get those places set up. I think that's what you mean, Michael, but
yes.
But the approach to how that the ideas will be presented in I think a very short order.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, I can guarantee that everyone's very engaged and very serious, and it's not on any other reason, but just because I want to give some guidance. We have a new commissioner. Obviously, we have, the elected officials who are hearing about this. So yeah, this is going to be addressed.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Rich. I don't see any other hands. Without objection, I'd like to move this one resolution into the omnibus vote. At that time, people can call up their votes separately if they choose to do so.
Janine, I have a request, please, because we didn't talk about it long enough. Can
we just finish this one? Can we just finish? Any objection to moving the parks? Is this regarding parks? No. Okay, just so let me finish the parks. Any objection to moving the parks resolution into the omnibus vote? Seeing none, we will move it into the omnibus. Ritu, I think you need clarification on who voted no on the amendment to the equity, race, and justice resolution. I think.
Correct.
Okay. If you voted no on the amendment, if you could raise your hand right now. That was Rocio and Matt. Do we have any other no's?
And Amy Brenna.
Okay, 3 no's. Okay, thank you. Rocio, Matt, Amy, Brenna. Thank you very much for that clarification. Okay. Next up, we have Chenault on landmarks 1 and 2. Chenault, floor is yours.
The first meeting, the first application, 464 Broome Street, to add new lettering to a glass storefront window. It was modestly done and doesn't detract from anything in particular, and we approved it. 580 Broadway, to replace the entry door at the Broadway facade and install a new marquee at the Crosby Street facade. Approval for the glass and metal Broadway entry and the security equipment. The entry is replacing a wooden door that is not historic and is fairly recent, in fact. And the proposal matches the entry next door, which was approved by the commission. Crosby Street marquee, provided the lighting is soft and of a warm appearance, and of the security equipment. The lighting is important here because it's a very dark street, and this will help just general safety as well as indicating where. 836 Broadway was laid over. 25 West 10th Street, raise the attic story and attic windows, construct new bulkheads, and modify the rear facade and excavate the yard. It was a little unusual to change the front facade. However, it is done and matches an approved building that was one of a matching set. And it does make the building more livable. And approve the modification of the front steps and the entrance according to the historic records, and the restoration and modification of the front facade. Approve the rooftop addition, which is modestly visible. Approve the demolition of a non-historic extension and the modifications of the windows in the rear facade. Approve the excavation provided in the usual way that they're careful with the building and with the neighboring buildings and adhere to all the regulations, which are extensive and designed to protect everything within seismic distance of the building. 232 West 10th Street, demolish an existing year-round extension and construct a new rear facade and new roof bulkhead. Recommend approval of the front facade restoration, rooftop addition, and lot line windows, and the rear facade modifications. If that seems redundant, the reason we write this way is because often the commissioners only see the conclusion and not everything before. We had the expense budget priorities. There is an added bit after the meeting that was agreed to, and it only amplifies and provides a method for the general idea and the previous things. So this is what we put forward and was considered at the meeting of the executive committee. Do you want to go on or move this one first?
Let's move this one first. Do we have any questions on landmarks 1? Okay. Is there any objection to moving these resolutions, including 3 and 6, which were removed, into the omnibus vote? Seeing none, we'll move these items into the omnibus vote. Chenault, why don't you take us through landmarks 2?
133 West 3rd Street, to install gates at the front of the railings at the building. This is not unusual at all when people object to people sitting on their steps. And in this case, it's a fairly populated building. It's more than a row house, and it's about a nuisance. The application itself was woefully incomplete in that this gate attached to a railing that doesn't exist. And the applicants seem to have no idea about work to be done on the steps and the railings that don't exist. So we described it as an incomplete application and asked that they return with a complete one before it's heard by the commission. 242 Lafayette Street, replace north windows on the front facade and the rear of the building to replicate previously moved work. They did not show up, so they will not be heard until they do. 52 Green Street, application to add 2 new stories on a penthouse to a 3-story building, install new windows throughout, and extend the fire escape to the roof. This is a very unusual situation. It was a 5-story building, and there was a fire along the way, and the top 2 floors were lost, though the front facade of the bottom 3 is very well preserved. And they have good pictures of the building as it originally was, and essentially they're to rebuild it as it was. We particularly noted that this is not a case where the new work is to be obvious, but on the other hand is to be invisible, and it should appear as just a part of the lower floor rather than an addition. And there's also a penthouse that was never there, but it's totally blocked by other buildings and the setback. So we recommend approval. 738 Greenwich Street. This is the parking garage that was a part of the West Village houses. And there was a great controversy about its being sold. Eventually it was, and we were very thankful a conversion rather than a demolition, which might have been applied for. And it's altogether quite a fine adaptation, particularly because they're keeping the style windows that are there presently as garage windows. And so I'll read it briefly. Application to reuse 4-story parking garage as a multi-unit residential building, restore the front facade, modify the ground floor infill, alter the window openings, and configure 3 windows, remove a portion of the rear of the building to provide light and air, add a 1-story rooftop addition with the required mechanicals and bulkhead, and excavate below the building. In the interest of consolidation, we recommended approving the application provided that modern glass balcony railings are changed to iron, modified dormer at the penthouse level that disturb the view from the street, replace historic multi-pane windows in the west bulkhead, use multi-pane windows and doors in the ground floor to preserve the historic character, paint the garage doors something other than the black that was recommended, that was proposed. Preserve the sign band text. It says village, garage, and parking, and they wanted to obliterate pretty much the words parking and garage, and we felt it should stay intact since it's there and is it seems to be a particular thing. This is a residential building. They don't want it to be confused, or they don't want it to have a quite so much a commercial look about it. After the meeting, they made 2 changes. A window that was to be replaced with a plate glass that they agreed to make multi-pane, and that the garage doors opposite the infill where there used to be garage doors would be painted a color other than the stark black that as we recommended. And that's it.
Okay, well, thank you, Chanel. We have two questions. First, Rocio.
Hi, Chanel. First, I want to make a comment, and I just want to thank you for all the work you've done for so many years on landmarks. It's been a joy to work with you, and I'm very appreciative of everything that you do. Your resolutions are always right on point. I really enjoy reading the work that you put together. I just have one comment regarding number 133 West 3rd Street, install gates in front of railings of the building. I read the comments that you wrote, that some people came against it because of the narrow sidewalk. So my suggestion for future, you could always tell the applicants to please make sure that the doors for the railing are self-closing. So they immediately close when they're on hinges, so they will close. And therefore, they will not stay opened, preventing pedestrians from passing by. That's just my suggestion.
That was in fact discussed, but we didn't get that far with them because it's just an unhearable proposal at the moment.
Anyway, thank you. Thank you so much for all the work you do. Much appreciated.
Okay. Shirley Smith.
Oh, yeah, I have no qualms about the resolution, Chanel. Totally in agreement. It's just a location that I'm confused about in number 4 Greenwich Street, H1. You refer to the Northern Dispensary at Sherman Square. Is there a Sherman Square?
That is Sherman Square. Sheridan Square is the block in front of the Gristides.
Oh, that I know, but I never knew that was called.
But that's called Sherman Square.
Okay.
Where the Gay Liberation Park is.
Where the Christopher Street Park is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Didn't know it was Sherman Square. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
I was just trying to identify that it was close to the subject building.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any other questions? Seeing none, is there any objection to moving landmarks 2, 1 through 4 into the omnibus vote? Okay. Any unwillingness? Okay, so we will move these into the omnibus vote. If anyone wants to call it a specific item at that time, we can do so. Next up is Will Benish from Quality of Life.
Hello, everybody. So we had 5 street activities on our agenda this month, as well as 2 FYI renewals. Of the 5, unfortunately, 3 were no-show, 1 deny, and 1 approved. So let me go through quickly. Number 1 was October 23rd, Financial Times photo booth, Gansevoort Pedestrian Plaza. That was a no-show denial. Number 2 is on November 12th. This is also on the Gansevoort Pedestrian Plaza. This is a Visit Savannah tourism activation. The committee had several issues with this one. Number 1 being that it's essentially an advertisement that's taking up the whole plaza, despite the fact that advertisements technically aren't permitted on public plazas. There's very little connectivity to the city and the neighborhood. Again, I mentioned it's taking up almost the entire plaza. There won't really be room for public seating, which we think is especially objectionable given that they're going to be closing the plaza during the Veterans Day holiday, because they're going to set it up the day before and just leave the plaza closed, and then do the actual activation on the 12th. So that caused some concern. And then the takedown is going to be overnight on the 12th, pretty much into 4 or 5 a.m. on the 13th. And that would create a noise disturbance as well. So we voted to deny that. And that was unanimous denial. And then there was a second resolution basically saying that if it was approved by a SAPO, we're asking them to maximize as much public seating preservation as they can. So that's the first one, or sorry, that's number 2. Number 3 was the Timberland Mobile pop-up. That was a no-show denied. That one also was an application for 2 blocks, which isn't permitted under current staple guidelines. So we noted that as a second part of that resolution. Number 4, the Dance for Kindness, November 13th, Mulberry between Broome and Grand, and Waverly between McDougal and Washington Square East. No show deny. And then number 5 was November 19th, IDE Public Restroom Pop-Up Broadway. This is an activation sponsored by International Development Enterprises, which is a large multinational nonprofit. They're essentially doing a one-day restroom pop-up to draw awareness of the fact, lack of restrooms in various parts of the developing world. This was a unanimous approval. The committee did have an issue with the fact that they, as presented, did not make the trailer ADA accessible. They said they would be open to going back to the nonprofit and bringing that back to them and sharing our concerns that we wanted it to be ADA compliant. So that was the second part of the resolutions, that we're strongly suggesting the applicant shift to an ADA compliant trailer. And then there was also some concern from the community about the specific spot where they were going to park this trailer. We suggested they move it from 541 Broadway to 549 to 557 Broadway, which is currently empty storefront. And they said they were open to doing that. So that's the third part of that resolution. And then the FYI renewals were unanimously approved. And then we had a report in here, not a resolution, about a presentation we heard from the New York League of Conservation Voters regarding the statewide ballot proposal 1 that's going to be on the ballot in November. This is for the Clean Water, Clean Air, and Green Jobs Environmental Bond Act. I encourage everyone to read through it. It's a pretty short report. $4.2 billion authorized by the Bond Act if it passes. Among areas where it could impact Community District 2 are in renovating or building new parks, putting green infrastructure on the roofs of public buildings, or otherwise making public buildings more green. Those are some of the ways where they could have an immediate impact. So please take a read through. That is included in the full board package. That's it.
Thank you, Will. Any questions? Ryder.
Yeah, Cormac mentioned this kind of jokingly in the chat, but I wanted to raise it seriously. The toilet event, I think, is great, but I actually was surprised that there wasn't a reference that it was about the developing world toilet access, when New York is 93rd out of 100 of the biggest cities in the US in terms of public restrooms per capita. Was there any discussion of like the relevance of this event to the city and how that will be integrated into what they do?
Yeah, there was. Unfortunately, this nonprofit doesn't really operate in the United States. So we did make that point that, hey, there's actually a tie into accessibility of public restrooms in the US. The design was already pretty much baked by the time they presented to us, and they're focused on their own purview. So unfortunately, I don't think it's really touching on that as much as it's sort of a missed opportunity, I would say.
I'll activate the pro public bathroom accessibility people I know to leverage it for their agenda. Thanks.
Wonderful. Okay. Thank you. I don't see any other hands. Is there any objections to moving quality of life 1 through 5 and renewal 6 through 7 into the omnibus vote? Seeing none, we will move these items into the omnibus vote at this time. Board members can call out their vote separately if they choose to do so. Next up is Shirley Secunda, Traffic and Transportation.
Right, and we had one resolution unanimously approved. It's to do with curb regulations and bike racks at the new Wegmans that's coming sometime in 2023 in the old Kmart spot. So it's in response, the resolution is in response to those proposed curbside regulations, and they are for the northern side of East 8th Street between Broadway and Lafayette Street, And they have proposed additional bike racks at the northeast corner of East 8th Street and Broadway and the southwest corner of Lafayette Street, and want to make a place which is East 9th Street, if you don't know its original name. And that is for Wegmans opening, as I said, in 2023. And yeah, we had some concerns. First, we asked that Wegmans conduct a study of existing conditions, primarily on East 8th Street between Broadway and Lafayette Street, also on Lafayette Street between 8th and 9th Street, including factors as automotive, bicycle, and pedestrian traffic counts and flow, street and sidewalk widths and uses, and truck and delivery frequencies, to evaluate how to best fit Wegmans' anticipated activities with those occurring there now, and provide a guide to establishing workable balance between them. They have not done any studies as yet. Further, we prefer a pickup for delivery model that relies on delivery cart bicycle vehicles and other cargo bikes rather than motor vehicles, and asks that consideration be given to solely employing cargo bike delivery cart bicycle vehicles for this purpose. Further, we urge Wegmans to outfit its delivery trucks with direct vision or high vision, called both, cabs and other safety features as recommended by NACTO for safe vehicle design, as well as to use electrically powered vehicles. Further, we encourage Wegmans to do off-hours deliveries, that is, to continue its practice of overnight deliveries at the new 770 Broadway store to avoid vehicular conflicts and noise that might otherwise occur at more heavily trafficked times, especially in view of its location on the street with purely commercial uses, as opposed to mixed-use streets in Community District 2 that have concerns about nighttime residential impacts, obviously, from trucks. Also, we recommend that the 3 city rack bike racks proposed for the sidewalk at the southwest corner on Lafayette Street of East 9th Street instead be installed around the corner on the southwest side of East 9th Street near the corner of Lafayette in the street bed, which is wider than that on 8th Street, East 8th Street, where pedestrian and automotive traffic is considerably lighter than on Lafayette Street, and where there's enough room to install at least an additional 3 bike racks, if not more. Further, we advise Wegmans to consult with the Village Alliance Business Improvement District for input on assessing conditions and needs in the project area. And finally, we look forward to conferring with Wegmans about their findings as they monitor implementation of the project, and request that Wegmans report back to CB2 4 weeks after the store's opening with an update, including items as delivery frequencies and times, modal split, curbside use, traffic conflicts, service provider pickups, community feedback, and what modifications is needed have been applied, and present another update 4 months after that, while also agreeing to be available for a follow-up visit after that should there still be issues needing remediation.
Shirley, do we have any questions? Seeing none, is there any objection to moving the one resolution into the omnibus vote? Okay, we will move the one traffic and transportation into the omnibus vote. And next up is SLA 1 and 2. Donna and Bob.
Okay, so SLA 1, we had 18 applications and 9 resolutions. All the rest were either laid over, withdrawn, or no shows, and all the votes were unanimous. The first one is Annette Dishveld doing business as pending, 41 Greenwich Avenue. That's for a new restaurant, wine. That was denial unless with Stips, unanimous. Hiro Nishida doing business as Sushi Delic at 177 Lafayette Street. That's a new restaurant, wine, in a previously unlicensed location. That one was a deny, unanimous. Double J Operations LLC doing business as Kung Fu Rasta at 406 Broome Street, an on-premise for a restaurant. And that was deny unless with stipulations unanimous. 357 West Broadway, ground floor, second and third floors. That's a new restaurant wine, previously unlicensed location. Deny unless with STIPs unanimous. SIP Acquisition, 60 Thompson Street. That's an on-premise for a hotel. Deny unless with stipulations unanimous. Saint-Tropez Soho doing business as Saint-Tropez Soho at 196 Spring Street. That was a class change from restaurant wine to OP. That was a deny unanimous. And then the next three are just re-notifications. So 337B West Broadway, that's a tavern wine bar. They sent us a new 30-day notice. They had already signed stipulations with us. It's written in your packet. That's deny unless with STIPs, King J Garden, Lady Child's Kitchen, 171 Hester Street, on premise for restaurant. Same thing, re-notification with an updated form, deny unless with STIPs. And 160 Prince doing business as Milady's, 160 Prince. That's an on-premise for a restaurant. It was a re-notification with the new form, and that was deny unless with STIPs. All three of those had STIPs previously, so that's what was signed. And then items 10 through 18 were either, again, laid over, withdrawn, or failed to appear. And that's it for SLA 1.
Thank you, Donna. Any questions? Any call outs? Rocio? Rocio? Rocio, did you have a question or a call out?
I am muted. Thank you. Sorry. Number one, SLA number one, Anad Dishful, 41 Greenwich Avenue. The fifth whereas, item number 18. Again, you are requiring the applicant to reappear. My question is,
you're muted again.
sorry. Okay, so I'll start again. Number one, 41 Greenwich Avenue, Anat Dishful.
Number 18.
Yes, item number 18. You're demanding that the applicant reappear. Where is your authority to demand this?
They don't have any outdoor seating now, so if they want to change their application, it's an alteration to what they're doing, and then the liquor authority requires them to reappear.
The liquor authority requires what?
Them to reappear. It's an alteration to the license that they have if they add the outdoor seating.
So let me just clarify so we don't have back and forth. The application did not include outdoor seating.
Correct.
Correct. And therefore, this is in here, and if they
Well,
want.
they have the 8 seats. So if it's, they have 8 seats. That's what they have if they're allowed to fit the 8 seats. They want something permanent. This is under the temporary program. They are required to come back.
Okay.
Who requires them?
The liquor authority requires that.
Okay, thank you.
Number 2.
Okay, I'm going to go to Shirley and then we'll come back to you, okay? If you want to call out a specific, do you have, like, before in the past, we've called out, like you all want to call it 2, 3, and 5 and we'd come back to them. Do you want to do it that way? You're muted, Marcia. There's something. Okay.
I don't know why it gets muted. I actually want to call all of them.
Oh, you want to call all of them out?
For the same reasons, because.
Okay, if they're all the same reason, then.
Most of them are for the same reason, not all of them.
Okay, well, for the ones that are the same reason, let's skip those unless there's some unique character, if you're calling out something different. Because if you're going to ask all of them if they have to come back for submitting plans for permanent sidewalk, I think Donna answered that question. So if you have different questions, if we could go to those.
So for instance, number 2. Can you hear me? Yep.
Yes. We'll let you know if we can.
Yeah, number 2 is denial for failure to consider a reduction in the hours on any day of the week, nor remove the roadbed structure. The items are frivolous and not in accordance with law. Is CB2 being above the law now?
I don't have an answer to that. I mean, I'm not gonna.
Okay, number 3.
Okay.
Double J operations, Kung Fu Pasta. Item number 7th, whereas, item number 21, they're forced to repair again before CB2 for alteration. Okay.
Rocio, if it's the same issue, we've already answered it, so please don't ask the same question again. Thank you.
I will try not to, except that I wrote all of them, so.
Okay,
I'm
well,
sorry.
if you can read, if you do, we'll, I'll just go to somebody else and we'll come back to you. Would you prefer to do that so you can go through your notes and we can go through this more efficiently? Why don't we do that?
I'm done with this one. I'm
Okay.
done with this one because it's always the same thing.
Okay.
And it's really unfair.
Go through your next ones, please.
Go ahead, I finished with that
You're
one.
done? Okay, thank you. Shirley Secunda?
Yeah, this is just about a term that I probably has been used before, but I just noticed it tonight. What do you mean by instant application? As opposed to usual?
The immediate application.
Oh,
The-
that's all.
the
current one.
The present
Oh,
application, the
oh,
application
okay.
before us.
Okay, thank you, Shirley. Manhattan Community Board 2, Adam Zeldin.
Thanks. Sorry, I can maybe wait until.
Do you have a question?
I'm on number 6. I can wait.
Well, where you could just ask your question on number 6.
Okay, my question is, in whereas number 6 of SLA 6, we say that the amount of outdoor seating in the area is inconsistent with existing interior storefront footprint. I guess what would be consistent? Like I live on that block, it's 196, I live at 172. It's kind of a nice street and neighborhood. I'm just curious, like what would be consistent?
Okay, thank you for your concise question.
Thank you.
Donna?
You're looking at number 6.
6, little 6, whereas?
Which I think there's a renumbering there.
Oh, there's 2 whereas 6s.
2 number 6s, so that has to change.
So it's this whereas 7, the actual, is it the last one?
No, I think he means number
Yeah, the last one.
6. Is it the last one?
The last one, which would be whereas 7. Thank you.
Okay.
We just talked about the density of neighborhood amenities in that area.
I mean, there's just a tremendous amount of outdoor seating out there, so consistent would be something that is not the same as the seating that's inside. Basically, they have the same number of seats outside.
In aggregate, though?
Excuse me, you're not coming in very clear. I may not be either. I'm sorry. I'm sitting in some room, so you're echoing a little too. So go ahead.
Outdoor seats would be 1-to-1 equal to the total number of seats in the 750-foot perimeter. I guess I'm just trying to quantify what that would mean. You know, it's a quantifiable metric, but we're not using.
I haven't quantified that metric, so it's a sense of numbers outside versus, I mean, this is outdoor seating that is not the public space. It's not, you know, it's not their restaurant space.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Donna. Thank you, Adam. Matt Metzger?
I was just going to say, I wanted to thank the chairs for taking time to explain a couple matters of law and fact to me. And I certainly was convinced that any new liquor license that doesn't serve alcohol outdoors when they apply, but decides to later on, would be required anyway by law to come before the board. And so mostly as a clarifying matter, I've gotten comfortable with the inclusion of them as in the STIPs, but also just want to say thanks to Bob and Donna.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Appreciate it. Thank you, Bob and Donna. Any other questions on SLA 1? Okay, is there any unwillingness to, any objection to moving SLA 1 through 9 and laid over withdrawn or did not appear 10 through 18 into the omnibus vote? Seeing none, we will move these items into the omnibus vote. Bob, Rocio, do you have an objection? I'm sorry, what, Rocio?
Yes, I am sorry, but I did not understand or hear the answer to my questions regarding number 2, the Hero Nishida, 177 Lafayette, that the fact that they denied it for failure to consider reductions in hours on any day of the week, nor remove the roadbed structure. And then I'm saying these items are frivolous and not in accordance with the law. Is CB2 being above the law? Can you answer the question, please?
Okay, I think Donna did answer that question because it was sort of a, CB2 is not above the law.
Obviously, but CB2 is imposing things on applicants that are not within the law.
Donna?
So that's my objection to all of these things.
Okay, thank you. Donna, I'll give you one more shot at that, and then
The community came to the meeting, was objecting to the late hours of the application. The other restaurants in the area have earlier closing hours. We asked the applicant if they would consider any earlier closing hours to be in alignment with the other restaurants, as the nearby residents were all asking for. That's why that's in there.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm gonna look, any other questions? I do not see any hands raised. So there are 0 hands raised. Is there any objection to moving SLA 1 items 1 through 9 and laid over, withdrawn, or did not appear 10 through 18 into the omnibus vote? Seeing no objection, we will move these items into the omnibus vote at that time, and you may call these out if you'd like to do so in the final vote. Bob Ely, SLA 2, please.
Good evening, everyone. We had 18 applications in SLA 2. Out of those 18, we have 9 where we resolved 1 through 9. The rest were not resolved and put over to the next month, or they were withdrawn. There were no shows, things of that sort. I'll start with number 1, that 68 Perry Street, DBA Corner Bistro at 331 West 4th Street. This is an existing on-premise license. There was a change in the ownership of the corporation that holds the license. Deny unless is the recommendation. The vote was unanimous. Pop-up grocer at 205 Bleecker Street. This is a new tavern wine license to operate a little cafe in a gourmet grocery store that's going to go into 205 Bleecker Street. The recommendation deny unless with stipulations. 401 West operator, new tavern wine. This is a previously unlicensed location on the West Side Highway. It's that's pretty much it. It's a recommendation is deny unless with the stipulations that are identified. Number 4 is MT 181 Waverly. They don't have a name yet. It's to be announced. 150 West 10th Street. This is a location that has been licensed before. What's going in there is similar to what was there before. They got together with the community and the block association, worked things out. Deny unless with stipulations. Pyramid Effect Corp, 176 to 187th Avenue. It's a new restaurant wine application for the Rivali Pizza place that has been there for a number of years. The recommendation was to deny that particular application. That's unanimous as well. Number 6 is Maman Meat Packing, 800-802 Washington Street, also known as 95 Horatio. This is for a new on-premise liquor license and a previously unlicensed, at least in terms of on-premise at the location. Deny unless, they also did get together with the community members. Deny unless with stipulations. Number 7 is Sao Paulo Hospitality at 569 Hudson Street. This was an application for a new on-premise license to operate a restaurant. The gentleman came back. This is really reconsideration of a prior application, and we changed our recommendation from deny to deny unless with stipulations. Again, this is a gentleman that came back and got together with community members and worked things out. Number 8 is 27 Pilgrims, DBA Donna, located at 7 Cornelia Street, new on-premise license to operate a restaurant. Again, work things out with the block associations in that area. Deny unless with stipulations. Number 9 is Gift New York, DBA EAK Ramen at 469 6th Avenue. This is a new on-premise liquor license is a business that's been there for a few years, operating with restaurant wine. They were looking to upgrade, and the recommendation is deny less with the stipulations consistent with what they had as a restaurant wine. The rest, 10 through 19, as I said before, were either layovers, withdrawals, or no-shows of some sort.
Thank you, Bob. Do we have any questions or call-outs? Rocio.
For the record, I will state my objection to the continuous demand that the applicants spend a lot of money and go back to CB2 to get what the law allows them to have. For the record, all of them, I will vote in favor of all of them, but I regret that our board demands, and it does not make a very friendly, business-friendly environment for these operators. So that is for the record. I stand by my comments. I think it's not fair. And so for all the applications where you're demanding that they come back to community board 2, I think it's unfair and is undue process, and it's overreaching.
Well, Rocio, I appreciate your record, and I appreciate what you're saying. What we are doing is nothing that is not required of them. By putting in the stipulations, we're actually telling them, hey, look, this is something that you're going to have to do in the future. Not everybody fully understands. People that are represented by lawyers often do understand it, but many that do not. And that anytime you do make an alteration to a liquor license, you need to come back. We've been told that specifically from the commissioners, or not the commissioners, from the State Liquor Authority. He's not a commissioner, he's the chairman of the State Liquor Authority. So we do put that in there to let people know that, especially with the temporary program, with the outdoor seating, that at some point in the future, when you do come in, when the program is in place and you need to have, you're going to have some sort of permanency to what you're asking for, that's going to be required of you. So that's why that's in there, to make sure everybody knows that, to give them notice. It has nothing to do with being mean to businesses or to being difficult with businesses. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with explaining the process to them. And by putting in the stipulation, I think it makes it even clearer.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Bob. Okay, any other questions? Okay, seeing no questions, is there any objection to moving SLA 2 items 1 through 9 and 10 through 18 laid over, withdrawn, or did not appear into the omnibus vote? Seeing none, we will move these items into the omnibus vote. At this time, board members can call out their votes separately if they choose to do so. Okay. Next up is we have the capital and budget priorities, which we discussed at length in last night on Tuesday night's executive committee meeting, and they are on the last few pages of the of your package. And so for the capital budget priorities, we've itemized 1 through 15, which came up through our committees, and then we have committee continuing support 1 through 6. Are there any questions on the capital budget priorities? Natasha?
Just in terms of process, for voting on the capital or expense, are we able to vote against specific line items, or is it a vote on the entire package?
It's a vote on the entire package. And so each committee, other than, I guess, arts and institutions and parks, met and discussed these items, and then we discussed them again at exec. And everyone who was at exec was able to participate, and then you would just vote yes or no on the priorities.
Okay, are we able to make any amendments during this time? I understand that they were talking about
you can't make an amendment, and we would have to vote on it. So we would have to vote on it. So do you have I'm going to take the other questions, and we're going to just so you know, if we're going to go back to an amendment we had earlier, we're going to share the screen. So if you have a specific amendment, if you could jot it down on a piece of paper or write it, and I can allow you to share your screen and you can share it with us, or you can, I just want to make sure we get the language correct. You can, so I'm going to come back to you. Shirley Secunda?
Yeah, real simple. In the expense budget priority.
So we're talking capital right now. Do you have anything on capital?
Capital, no.
Okay. Okay. Well, then I'll take your, for the expense, we ranked our top 20 in the meeting, and then we sort of did pro rata 21 through 44. And just so people know, this is, these go to the city agencies and, okay. These go to the city agencies, and we basically, in the past, Bob Gormley input these into some computer system, and and that's basically how it goes. And then so Shirley, what was your comment on the expense?
And my comment is simply that number 9 and number 42 are the same request.
Oh, we've had a few. Okay,
and I
so
think we had it as number 9 in the first place. I don't know how it got to.
Okay, so we'll number them as 41, 42, and 43. And thanks to Chris Digness, who caught some earlier. Appreciate it. There's a lot of expense items and so forth. Natasha, I'm going to come back to you.
Yes, I'm happy to share my screen. I don't know if it's.
I have to make you a co-host first. Now you should be able to do it. Oh, and I'm sorry, I have Will. Before you do that, I want to correct one thing, and I'll share my screen first. We had a correction, a tweak on number 4 for the capital. And we had some language that we discussed on Tuesday night that refined. Oh, my computer is crashing.
I can put it in, Janine, in the chat if you want.
Okay. Why don't you put it in the chat, and I'll share my screen so we can. Okay. So this is number 4 revised. It says number 4 in capital. This is for resiliency. Allocate funds for a baseline study of all city-owned and other infrastructure and conditions underneath the ground surface along the far western edge of CB2 to inform the groundwork for major storm resiliency initiatives to protect the west side of Community District 2 along the Hudson River waterfront and areas immediately inland. In the aftermath of Hurricane Sandy 10 years ago, it became clear that the Hudson River waterfront in CB2 is dangerously vulnerable. After making variations of this request for many years, the agency's response has been that further study of the request is needed. We would like to know if any study has been done, and if so, what were the findings and recommendations. Even if resiliency projects such as USACE study or a more localized study of underground conditions along the west side are partially funded with federal and/or state funds, it is clear that any major project will likely need to have matching funds provided by the city DEP. And Will, did you also put that in the chat?
No,
you know what? I have it here.
Why don't you just, I'm just
have it
double
right
checking
here.
it. I'm double checking it.
I cut and paste from the email you sent me.
Yeah, I think that's
so into that. Okay. And that was just a refinement. And just to be clear, there are word counts and space counts in this computer system. I don't know what they are. So often these things do get shortened a little bit when they get submitted to the city because it's a system that you have to submit to. So Natasha, I'm going to let you go ahead.
Sure. I don't have any language changes. I'm happy to share my screen, but my amendment or proposal would be to remove capital budget priority item number 2 entirely.
Okay. Okay. Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay. Lucio. Okay. So let's take a vote on that. That would be removing preserving Elizabeth Street Garden from our capital budget priority list entirely. And let's do this as a roll call vote. Ritu?
Yep, hold on.
I'm sorry, I don't understand it.
Oh, okay, so our capital budget priorities are 15. Natasha is recommending that we eliminate our number 2 priority from the list, which is Elizabeth Street Garden. So voting yes on this resolution is basically voting no on Elizabeth Street Garden. So if you want to save Elizabeth Street Garden, you vote no. And if you want to develop it, you vote yes. Is that correct, Natasha?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, Natasha.
Yes.
Natasha Avanesian, I'm taking your vote.
Yes.
Okay. Akila Azqui.
No.
Will Benish.
No.
Keen Berger.
No.
Carter Booth.
No.
Katie Bordnaro.
No.
Anita Brandt.
No.
Amy Brenna. Amy, can you put it in the?
Put it in the
She
chat.
votes no.
Okay, got it. Rich Kekapolo.
No.
Ritu Chatri votes no. Valerie De La Rosa. Valerie, can you please put it in the chat if you can't speak right now? John Paul DeVerna. John Paul. Chris Dignas.
Yes.
Bob Ely.
No.
Mar Fitzgerald.
No.
Stella Fitzgerald.
No.
Cormac Flynn.
No.
Susan Gammy.
No.
Wayne Kwadler. Susan Kent.
No.
Ryder Kessler.
Yes.
Janine Kiley.
No.
Patricia Laria.
No.
Michael Levine.
No.
Ed Ma.
Yes.
Matt Metzger.
No.
Dan Miller. Dan Miller.
We'll have to come back to him.
Juan Osorio.
I abstain.
Brian Pape.
I vote no.
Donna Raftery.
No.
Lois Rakoff.
I vote no.
Bo Riccobono. Bo. Robin Rothstein.
No, it's Bo, no.
Okay. Robin Rothstein.
No.
Rocio Sands.
Yes.
Shirley Secunda.
No.
Christian Shea.
No.
Shirley Smith. Dr. Shirley Smith. Chenault Spence.
No.
Anthony Wong.
No.
Cheryl Wu. Eugene.
Sorry, no, it's Cheryl.
Okay, thanks, Cheryl. Eugene Yu. Adam Zeldin.
Yes.
And Valerie, I see your hand raised. Is that a yes or a no?
That's a no. Thank you.
And I was a no too. Sorry, too. My mic wasn't working.
Okay, got it.
no. I was a no too, John DeVerna.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, the amendment does not carry.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Ritu. Okay. Thank you, everyone. And I just want to see, were there any other questions of Katie? Yes?
On page 3.
Of capital or
Number-
expense?
Number 24, let me see.
It must be expense because we don't have that many capital. Yes?
Okay, yeah, it says allocate funds for new furniture for the library and new cafeteria tables. Is that for a particular school? Is that for all the schools?
Patricia, can you clarify on that one? That's a good question.
That's for a particular school.
Is that for PS3?
Yes.
Okay, we will amend, we will clear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Good catch. Any other questions? Okay. Katie, do you have another question? I'm going to lower your hand.
No, I'll take my, yeah, lower my hand,
Okay.
sorry, yeah.
I see no questions. Is there any objection to moving the capital and expense priorities as amended into the capital priorities as exactly as they with the amended language for Katie, is your hand up again?
No, I
Okay.
don't know what's happening.
Okay. For the capital budget priorities, number 4 is amended based on the language that we shared. For the expense priorities, it's amended with number 24 is added at PS3. And we got rid of the duplicate number 42, so it actually only goes through 43. And with any objection to moving those into the omnibus vote? Okay, seeing none. I am coming back with a clarification on the second resolution, equity, race, and justice. Carter has so Carter wants to vote on changing the letter. I don't believe the letter.
I'm not saying we vote. I'm just saying that was a change from what's in our package. I don't think anybody objected to it, but
No, nobody objected to it. I actually don't think it was a change. I think it was a typo because it was written in whereas form. They're just the two line was a typo. So it actually is a resolution in our package with a typo at the beginning. Is that correct, Mar?
Correct.
Okay, so Carter
but
went back.
just for clarification though, the first sentence in all of that is the dear line.
That's a
to make
typo.
a reso,
it's a typo.
It needs to be removed.
It's a typo,
right?
Carter. We have lots of other typos that we discussed tonight, and we did not debate them.
Well, it's not a typo because the committee voted on the letter. I hate to belabor that, but that's
it is a
presented
typo,
as a
Carter,
new. It was
because
presented as a new item.
when it was sent
board.
back in, when it was updated to be a letter, that line just didn't get deleted. It was an accident. It's a typo. It's a mistake. It's not, and it doesn't change the spirit of the letter. And again, we've had many typos. There were double lines. Do we need to vote on that?
Well, I'm sorry, but that's incorrect. I mean, if you guys want to discuss that, I'll just point out that you guys said that you voted on a letter at committee, that it was changed after the committee meeting ended to reso. And then that's what was presented is the letter. And then at our meeting
Letter was
tonight,
not
we
presented.
changed
I'm
it
looking
to
at it right
a
now.
reso. Okay, I mean, you guys are rewriting the story here, I mean, of what you'd said before, but I don't have a problem with it. I'm just trying to make it so that everybody understands what happened.
Does everybody is there any confusion? Valerie, do you have confusion or you have a different question?
Can I make a motion to reintroduce this as a reso?
Yes, thank you. Valerie's making a motion to reintroduce this as a reso, ignore the typo in the top line. And then second, Carter went back to his otter video recording. Yes, Valerie?
I have an additional question about the reso.
Okay. Let me just clarify, since Carter raised his other thing, I'll come back to you. Carter went back to his otter recording to listen to his recording of what he said, which was slightly different than what I put into the chat. So I'm going to share for those of you who, I know not everybody uses the chat feature, I'm going to share my screen. Let's see if I can do this. Actually, it doesn't work that way. I'm just going to, Carter put it in the chat, so I'm going to read it from his transcript. Therefore, be it resolved that Community Board CB2 Manhattan supports the placement of all three measures proposed by the Racial Justice Commission for the New York City Charter on the ballot. Bracketed text is what he added. So I just want to clarify. So he's clarifying his amendment. Valerie, do you have a question on that? Okay, yes.
I have a question about who is this resolution being sent to specifically at the city?
Mar, who would we address this to?
It's going to go to all the usual suspects, all of our electeds, and it is also going to go to city agencies. And we will also share information that was provided at Borough Board this morning to educate people on these measures.
Okay.
I have an additional question. I'm just confused as to how this is going to educate like the voting public versus just going and pushing paper digitally to the agencies. I'm sorry, I missed part of the report. So I'm just trying to understand. Obviously, it's in the great.
It'll go out to this the information that was shared at Borough Board. We can share with the CB2 mailing list. Now, obviously, our mailing list does not reach everyone who votes or everyone who lives in CB2, but it is a start, and we can also post what we received at Borough Board on social media as well. And we have lots of our resolutions go into that bureaucratic black hole. It's what we do with them on an ongoing basis in terms of, it's just one small part of advocacy. Matt Metzger?
Sorry, I don't think any of the committee members were confused. And if any of them were, I'm sure they could speak up.
So you're saying you were not confused? Okay, thank you, Matt, for that clarification. Okay, so we have, I'm just gonna, so we have new language, which is in the chat, just to clarify that. And just to be clear, I'm just gonna make sure there's no confusion. I would like to have a roll call vote on this. If that's possible, on this amendment. It's in the chat. Ritu, if you could go through and just read the people who are here, skip the people who are absent with notice. Yes, Valerie.
Yeah, so I had a motion. I had made a motion to introduce this as a letter.
Yeah, so we're gonna
resolution.
No, I'm sorry. We're gonna vote on. Do we need to vote on these separately? So we're voting on two things: introducing this as a resolution, not a letter, and Carter's proposed change. They are both in the chat, and we'll go through roll call. You can say yes on both, or yes or no, or whatever you want, but we'll do one roll call to be efficient. Okay. The first yes is introducing it as a letter. The second yes or no is the language that Carter has included here. Yes, Valerie.
Someone needs to second my motion.
Oh, do we have a second for Valerie's motion?
Second.
Okay, wonderful. We've got a couple seconds. Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, so
is there any confusion before we vote? Is there any, Carter?
Yeah, you had said we're introducing it as a letter. It's actually being introduced as a reso.
We're introducing it as a reso.
Carter, you just cut out.
Yeah, okay. We are introducing part one. We are introducing it as a resolution. Part two is the language that Carter put in the chat. Any confusion? Rocio, I see your hand up.
Yes, I'm not interested in voting in favor of this resolution.
Well, then you can vote no at the end.
No.
Okay, thank you. But we are not voting on the resolution. We are voting on the amendment. So Ritu, you can choose however you want on the amendments, Rocio.
Okay, so the first one is, I just want to clarify. The first
Carter,
one.
Do you have another question?
No, I'll lower my hand.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're looking for two responses here. Natasha Avanesian.
Yes, to both.
Akila Ashqui.
Yes, to both.
William Benish.
Yes, yes, and yes. Yeah.
Keenberger,
Yes, and yes.
Carter Booth,
Yes to both.
I'm gonna be. So who's the lucky guy?
Katie Bordenara.
It's not in.
Okay, you guys, please mute yourself if you're not speaking. Thank you.
All right, Katie
B2, you ready
Bordenaro.
for me now?
Yes, Katie, thank you.
Yes to both. Yes to both.
Anita Brandt, Amy Brenna, can you put it
She
in the
wrote
chat?
yes to both in the
Okay.
chat.
Rich Cacapolo,
Yes to change from letter and yes to change the result as written, yes.
And Anita said yes, she's in the chat.
okay. Yes to both, okay. I vote yes to both. Valerie De La Rosa,
Yes to both.
John Paul DeVerna,
Yes.
Chris Dignas,
Yes and yes.
Bob Ely,
Yes, yes.
Mar Fitzgerald,
Yep, yep.
Stella Fitzgerald,
Yes to both.
Cormac Flynn, Cormac,
Sorry, technical trouble. Yes to both.
Susan Gammy,
Yes, yes.
Wayne Kwadler,
Yes to both.
Susan Kent,
Yes to both.
Ryder Kessler,
Yes to both.
Janine Kiley,
Yes to both.
Patricia Laria,
Yes to both.
Michael Levine,
Yes to both.
Ed Ma,
Yes to vote.
Matthew Metzger,
Yes to both.
Dan Miller, Juan Osorio,
Yes to both.
Brian Pape,
Yes to both.
Donna Raftery,
Yes to both.
Lois Rakoff,
Yes and yes.
Bo Riccobono,
Yes to both.
Robin Rothstein,
Yes to both.
Rocio Sands,
No and yes.
Shirley Secunda,
Yes and yes.
Kristen Shea,
Yes.
Dr. Shirley Smith,
Yes to both.
Chenault Spence,
Yes to both.
Anthony Wong,
Sally told Harry. Yes, yes.
Cheryl Wu,
Yes and yes. Hard to follow that.
Eugene Yu, Adam Zeldin,
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Looks like with the amendments we've approved the amendments. And I just, I don't see any other questions. As amended a second time, can we move this into, any objection to moving this into the omnibus vote? Seeing none, this will go into the omnibus vote. We will now go into the omnibus vote. Let me clarify what we are voting on. Land use and housing, one resolution. Equity, race, and justice, one resolution. Just as amended with that exact language that Carter shared in the chat. Parks and waterfront, one resolution on pickleball. Landmarks, one, items 1 through 2, 4 through 5, and number 7 and 3, and I'm sorry, 3, 6, and 7 were, I'm sorry, 1 through 2, 4 through 5, and then 3, 6, and 7 did not, were canceled, and then landmarks 2, items 1 through 4. Quality of life, street activities, items 1 through 5, and FYI renewals 6 through 7. Traffic and transportation, 1 resolution. SLA 1, items 1 through 9. Laid over withdrawn did not appear, 10 through 18. And SLA 2, same numbering, 1 through 9 resolutions, items 10 through 18, laid over withdrawn or did not appear. The capital budget priorities with the amended language for resiliency, item number 4. And the expense budget priorities with number 24, allocating furniture that's at PS3 and eliminating a duplicate item number 42. So there are only 43 on the list. Is there any confusion about what we are voting on? Any questions? Okay, this will be our final vote of the night and also a roll call. There are 4 ways to vote: yes, no, abstentions, recusals, and you can call out specific items. If you want to call out specific items, please be ready with your vote. Thank you. Ritu?
Okay, Natasha Avanesian,
Yes to all.
Akila Ashkri. Akila? William Benish.
Yes to all.
William Benish, yes to all.
Kathleen Keenberger.
Yes to all.
Carter Booth.
Yes to all.
Katie Bordnaro.
Yes to all.
Thanks, Katie. Anita Brandt.
Yes to all.
Amy Brenna.
Put it in the chat.
Okay.
Brenna
I
is
can't-
yes to all.
Pardon me?
Brenna is yes to all. She put it in the
Sorry,
chat.
I just saw it now. Rich Kakapolo.
Yes to all.
Ritu Chatri is yes to all. Valerie De La Rosa.
Yes to all.
John Paul DeVerna.
Yes.
Chris Dignas.
So yes, except for SLA 1, numbers 2 and 6. I just put it in the chat.
1, 2, and 6.
And you are no on those, or I'm sorry. You're
That's right. That's right. I'm no on those, and then I'm yes on everything else.
else. Okay.
No, got it. Bob Ely.
Yes to all.
Mar Fitzgerald.
Yes to all.
Stella Fitzgerald.
I'm not sure if this is the proper moment to do this or if I have to call out land use resolution 1, but I would like to change my abstention to in favor.
So Natasha, so Stella, all you need to do is say yes to all because your full board vote would override your committee vote.
Okay, great. Yes to all. Thank you.
Thank you. Cormac Flynn.
Yes to all.
Susan Gammy.
Yes to all.
Wayne Kwadler.
Yes to all.
Susan Kent.
Yes to all.
Ryder Kessler.
Yes to all except I'm a no on SLA 1, 2, and numbers 2 and 6. And I'm a no on the capital budget priorities.
Hold on a second. 1, 2, and 6. And which other one?
The capital budget.
Capital budget. Okay.
Thank you.
Janine Kiley.
Yes to all.
Tricia Laria.
Yes to all.
Michael Levine.
Yes to all.
Ed Ma.
Yes to all.
Thanks, Ed. Matt Metzger. Matt? Okay. Dan Miller?
Yes to all.
Rose up. I'm a yes to all except to recuse on expense number 16 because I work for the firm that's going to administrate the impact program.
Okay. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Juan Osorio.
I abstain to all.
Abstain. Brian Pape.
Yes to all.
Donna Raftery.
Yes to all.
Thanks, Donna. Lois Rockoff.
Yes to all.
Thank you, Lo. Bo Riccobono.
Yes to all.
Robin Rothstein.
Yes to all.
Rocio Sands.
No to racial equity and the New York City Charter. No to land use number 1, 813-815 Broadway.
Sorry. Hold on a second.
No,
No to racial
just say the
equity.
one. Yeah.
Excuse me?
And then no to all of SLA 1 and SLA 2.
No, I didn't say that.
No.
What
To
I
land
said
use
was-
number 1.
I said
Land use number 1,
land
okay.
use number 1, 813-815 Broadway. And
Got
no
it.
to the priorities. And the rest, yes.
So just land use is the one?
Land use and the first one for the racial equity and the New York City Charter.
Okay.
Got it. I hope.
And then the third no was the last one that we just did, the provisions, charter provision, the needs.
I'm sorry, the what?
The last that we did, which is the how we want to spend our money.
The capital or expense or both?
Both.
Okay, thank you.
Got it. Shirley Secunda.
Yes to all.
Thanks, Shirley. Kristen Shea.
Yes to all.
Dr. Shirley Smith.
Yes to all with the exception of parks. No to parks.
No to parks. Chenault Spence.
Yes to all.
Anthony Wong.
Yes to all.
Thanks, Anthony. Cheryl Wu. Cheryl?
Yes to all. I'm sorry.
Cheryl.
Thank you.
Eugene, you? Adam Zeldin.
Yes to all except I'm voting no on SLA 1, numbers 2 and 6.
You're voting no on SLA 1, number
2 and 6.
2 and 6. Okay. I think I've got everything. I do need clarification on the third roll call vote, please.
Which one was that? Can you just clarify that? Which was what was the topic?
Oh my God, I have no idea.
Was that the one with the cart, the
No,
amendment?
that it was before that.
Mhm.
So the first two were attendance. And the first roll call vote was for I'm so sorry, Janine.
Was it the equity, race, and justice one that we redid? If so, you can throw that one out.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I
So
will be,
resolutions all pass, is that correct?
yes. Yes, they do.
Okay. Do we have any new business that anyone wants to raise? Valerie, yes.
Do we have the final vote count to share?
For the omnibus, do you want?
Yeah.
Okay, what I have is 34 yes.
Well, there are 40 votes total. That's what I have.
Yes, I have one abstention. And then I have various call outs, which I have not yet tabulated.
Okay, do you,
which I will not yet tabulate
yeah,
this meeting.
yeah. Everything does pass though, bottom line.
Correct.
But how many total votes did you have in the final vote? I counted 40. Did you have that?
Just bear with me, Jane. It's between the absence and the left earlies. I didn't get Chris Dignas.
Dignas voted yes on all, but he said no on SLA 1, 2, and 6.
Uh-huh.
Okay, hold on. Just bear with me.
I also put in the chat if that's helpful.
Thank you. I'm just looking at my spreadsheet rather than. So yes, I have.
There's 39 because one abstained at all. There's 39 yes to alls with the call outs and one abstained from all.
I have. Yes, that's what I have.
Okay.
Yes, I have 34 yeses, 6 with call outs and 1 abstention. I have 41.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Seeing none, do we have a motion to adjourn? Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Have is different retail.
I don't. I have the same number as you.
Oh, okay. So we're fine. So you don't have anything different. Okay.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Thanks all.
Good night.
Night.